shape our future. We came to feel the music.
You're watching TBPN!
Today is Thursday, September 25th, 2025. We are live from the TBPN Ultradome, the Temple of Technology,
the Fortress of Finance,
the capital of capital.
It's
Good
great to be
morning
back.
to everyone in the chat. Good morning to Gold Rock, Ragav, John, Techno Chief, of course. The post of the day is Alex Heath. In Sources, I printed it. He says, scoops. He's scooping. He says, OpenAI is planning to bring ads to ChatGPT. Also, in a message to employees, Sam Altman says he wants 250 gigawatts of compute by 2033. He calls OpenAI's team behind Stargate a core bet like research and robotics. Doing this right will cost trillions, he says. Well, hopefully he can save time and money with ramp.com. Time is money, save both. Easy to use corporate cards, bill payments, accounting, and a whole lot more all in one place.
There we go.
But I was thinking about what Sam Altman's projections have to say about the build out of AI. We're in pretty crazy times. Certainly, lots of people are comping it to 1999. Lots of people are saying 1996 if they're bullish. The exact year matters a lot. I mean, even 1999, I feel like there were still...
Some people are saying this time is different.
18 months, you know. But you know, the technology is even more magical than the internet, potentially. And, of course, the internet already exists. So it's easier to scale revenues, as we've seen. And so my take on this was the AI deals are getting crazier. Obviously, this week we saw NVIDIA is going to invest $100 billion in OpenAI, which in turn will be used to buy NVIDIA GPUs. But we aren't fully in 1999 mode, even though a lot of people are saying that because big tech just has so much cash to fund the build out. And that wasn't quite what was happening in the dot-com boom. In the dot-com boom, there was a lot more leverage. The price to earnings ratios were crazy, 10x higher on median. And so we're not in the crazy debt era. There's a little bit of that going on with Oracle, but it's not as huge. The debt to equity ratios aren't insane yet.
Yeah. Certainly players like Meta have tapped the debt markets, right? They did an offering with Blue Owl, but it is a small, you know, it's some minority percentage of their earnings.
Exactly.
So,
Yeah.
Oracle went out this week as well for a $15 billion
convertible debt offering.
Debt offering. I'm sure that'll get filled quickly again because it's feels relatively low risk, even though they're forecasting well beyond what a traditional public company would be doing.
Yep. And so, but the nature of the deals is getting more unique. It's different. I mean, we're seeing letters of intent now, which is just a very fuzzy term.
Investments being announced that are still in discussion.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
So this NVIDIA OpenAI investment, if you read the fine print at the bottom of the
it was a non-binding letter of intent.
Yeah, they're basically saying we're talking about this.
Exactly.
This is like the
but we haven't papered it yet
for the deal.
Usually, you go the opposite direction. You get the leaks, Then you get the actual announcement once the deal is fully signed. The deal signs, and then the press tour starts. But now we're putting the press tour a little bit earlier. And I keep coming back to YC Demo Day because at YC Demo Day, the letter of intent is often pulled out for companies that don't quite have the ARR or the DAUs to justify whatever they're trying to fundraise. And I wanted to revisit a story from YC Demo Day, my favorite YC letter of intent story, probably Boom Supersonic. We've had Blake on the show multiple times. An extremely ambitious project to bring back commercial supersonic aviation, basically bring back the Concorde. Boom was one of the first hard tech companies to go through YC. There were a few at the time. This was the Sam Altman era again. And they didn't really fit the current mold. They couldn't show a graph of DAUs or ARR, obviously, because they hadn't even built planes yet. They were building like plans to build planes. There's only so much you can do in 3 months.
It was a founder bet.
Yeah, it was a founder bet. And Blake
This
also
guy was a product manager at Groupon.
Yeah, exactly.
He's got what it takes to take us back to hypersonic.
Yeah. So it wasn't
it sounds like I'm joking, but I'm totally not. When you see Blake's level of conviction and his inability to not go supersonic.
Yeah, but it wasn't like he was like former Lockheed and was spinning out some technology that immediately could just like piggyback on the shoulders of giants immediately. Like
SpaceX spin out.
He had to really build stuff from scratch and put the puzzle pieces together. And one of those puzzle pieces was a massive LOI. And so he stood on stage and said, you're going to think this is a sci-fi project. You think this is a moonshot project, but the one thing that I can tell you is that I have an LOI. It's non-binding, but it's for $2 billion. And so that was what went on the screen, I think, around there. And he had gone to Virgin, talked to probably Richard Branson, and Virgin had optioned 10 airplanes in a non-binding LOI. And the deal value was roughly $2 billion. And so if it was fully exercised. Now,
and I think people generally believe this is a kind of business. It's like if you build it, there will be demand.
Exactly.
There will be demand from the airlines. There will be demand from consumers.
But having the LOI means something.
Yeah, it means
it shows that you can go in that room and convince them that if you build it, they'll buy it, and then that leads to investors saying, okay, well, I will back you. And so Boom's had ups and downs. They had a down round. A lot of YC folks came back in, invested in the company again just to keep it going. And Blake's still at it. He's getting regulatory approvals, which we saw, and building planes one at a time. He's actually flying. And as loose as non-binding LOIs can be, they still help pull forward the future and can be a useful tool in making everyone around the table feel like there's mutual buy-in, because everyone's at least said, if this happens, I'm in. If that happens, I'm in. And if everyone commits, and if the capital partners commit and the customers commit and everyone commits, then the thing should actually happen. And so the Boom story for me underscores how unclear the path of technological development can be. Sam Altman is now guiding toward 250 gigawatts of compute at OpenAI by 2033. Which is a staggering number. We saw a post, which we'll get into. A single gigawatt data center is many football fields long, visible from space. It basically terraforms the Earth. And while many people are writing off Sam's projection as merely attempting to win the contest of saying the biggest number, his projections aren't entirely new to the world of AI compute forecasting. Leopold Aschenbrenner predicted a single training run cluster around 100 gigawatts coming online by 2030. So 3 years earlier, 1/3 the size. Just 2 years after, and then Leopold predicted in 2028 that there would be the first 10 gigawatt cluster. 250 gigawatts by 2033 lines up with that, but wow, America will look dramatically different if that comes to fruition. In 2023, for reference, 2 years ago, the US was producing an average power in total for everything, not just AI, of 485 gigawatts. And so Sam is saying that just OpenAI, if everything else stayed the same, would be 1/3 of all power consumption in America for that entire year in 2033. Now, obviously, everything else is growing, and there are other labs, and you would imagine that Amazon and Anthropic keep up, and Google and DeepMind keep up, and so it will be an entirely new chapter of the economic story.
What are some of
if it pans out.
Elon's promises again, or goals?
Yeah, I was talking to Tyler about this because I mapped out the power projections. This is straight lines on a log graph, of course. Leopold is the taller bars here. Jordy, you can see this. And Leopold is projecting logarithmic growth, which is exponential growth. This is every tick on here is an order of magnitude bigger for gigawatts. And you can see Leopold is projecting a straight line on a log graph, basically exponential growth continuously, based on how he's mapping out the few dates that he gave. He didn't give projections for every single year. Sam is actually. It's so funny because the Sam story is framed as like 250 gigawatts by 2033. This is so insane, but he's actually sort of guiding towards deceleration. Like you can see Sam's darker bars here.
He's being humble.
He's being humble relative.
He doesn't want to.
Relative to some other folks in the category. So, Tyler, what did you find? Did you see anything from the other labs?
Yeah, so I was trying to figure out like what all the other labs are doing, like what they would look like on that graph. So none of them have done real kind of projections. Like no one has said like, okay, by 2035 we're gonna have 250 gigawatts, anything like that.
Yeah.
So for Meta, Zuck, the big number that you could use for this is his at the White House dinner, 600 billion through 2028.
Yep.
And
so that's an aggregate number.
Yeah.
But like they're only doing 50 or 60 now. And so to get to 2028, that's only 3 years away. So you have to do 50, 100, 200, 400, something like that. Like
yeah.
It has to ramp really fast.
Yeah, I was trying to figure out like what does that actually mean in like gigawatts? Like what is the actual like price that you could like how many could you get out of
convert
600
the
billion?
dollars to wattage.
And so basically I used I looked at Colossus 2, which
Sure.
is
1
maybe
gigawatt.
the 1 gigawatt one.
Yep.
And then estimates are this is like very like non-accurate. This is totally guess, but like maybe somewhere around 15 billion.
Okay.
To build
so
that.
order of magnitude 10 billion something, 10 to 20 billion.
Yeah.
Let's keep it super vague for a 1 gigawatt.
Yeah.
And
So with 600 billion, you can do like maybe like around
60 gigawatts, 50 gigawatts.
Yeah, like something in that.
If you were to just copy and paste a bunch.
Yeah, but that's like Elon, like
Elon
him doing
precision.
the most efficient. Like this is the fastest of all time. Like it took them like 6 months to get to 300 megawatts, which is like double the next fastest build out, which was the Crusoe OpenAI one.
Yeah.
So I think it's probably that's a little aggressive.
And Zuck's number was at the end of 2028.
Yeah, it was through 2028, I believe.
Yeah, I mean the end of 2028 for Sam and Leopold, they're more thinking around 10 gigawatts, I think. So interesting to see if Zuck's projections kind of outpace what's there. I don't know.
And you guys saw today, CoreWeave and OpenAI expanded their contract to a total contract value of $22.4 billion.
22.4, okay.
Up $6.5 billion. So
it's a deal for
just
ants.
spraying and praying.
Yeah, what
I think
else you got?
another thing you could use besides Leopold is the AI 2027 numbers.
Yeah, I was wondering about those.
So if you look at those, like once you get to 2027, after that the numbers like explode. It's like, oh yeah,
that's the fast takeoff.
It's like 30 trillion on data centers.
Yeah.
But through 2026, 2027, it's like around like 500 billion a year, and that's like 500. I think it's like 650 in kind of the end of 2027. So like you could imagine we're like reasonably on track for that.
Yeah.
Considering Meta alone is doing around 600 over.
Yeah.
Through 20.
Yeah, if you aggregate all the labs.
Yeah. So I think that's like fairly reasonable. So yeah, it's hard. I mean, people are like, if you look at the timeline, everyone is like, okay, we're at the top. Like, this is so bearish.
Yep.
But if you look at a lot of people who are like super bullish on AI, we're still broadly on track, I would say.
Yeah, this is what Rune was saying, how like everyone, all the richest people have voted, and they've all said, we're going all in. We're putting all the chips on the table.
It's not about immediate ROI.
Yeah. And I mean, honestly, like if it's funded with cash and equity and not too much debt, there's a world where like you take the hit of maybe some stagnation and you get through, and you are more of like the Amazon story than the Nexstar story, or I forget what.
Yeah, I think
I always
even
forget
in
the
the
names of the
bear
companies that went away.
Even in the bear case, it's like there's the book Boom by Burr and Hobart.
Yeah.
Which is like bubbles are good
Yep.
because broadly like they don't affect like the normal economy because It's like all the it's like
It's the most risk on. Yes.
Yeah.
The interesting takeaway from Boom was that the common narrative is that like retail gets hurt the most in a bubble, but in fact it is not retail. It is the wealthiest that get the biggest haircuts because they are the most leveraged at the peak of the bubble and they have the most wealth to compress. Whereas the average American, through the number of bubbles that Bern Hobart analyzed, is not super levered long, the most risk on asset at the time of the top. Jordy, what were you going to say?
So there's a company called IREN.
Oh, yes.
The company pivoting from Bitcoin mining to being an AI data center company.
Yep.
Their stock is up tremendously. Andrew Wilkinson hit the timeline a couple months ago at this point. I think it basically like said, I read it as financial advice, but he was basically making his case. The stock is up massively since he came out and made the case for why he thought they were undervalued. The current share price is $48. It's up. Let's see exactly. It's up from around like I guess 17, 18. I think when he
more than doubled,
recommended it. So it's up massively. He's now calling for another 7x because he says IREN is about to control more power than the Hoover Dam, 2,910 megawatts, so 2.9 gigawatts, so anyways, he's now calling for the company to, again, 7x again. He thinks that $300 per share could be a layup.
Yeah.
He lays out a potential bear case, right?
Okay.
Given that he says if AI turns out to be a nothing burger and nobody wants IREN's power, land, data centers, and servers, that could be bad. Unable to. If they can't really capitalize on the demand because they just the data centers aren't configured to the level that they need to be great assets for either hyperscalers or other AI companies. So lays out some potential downside scenarios, but I do wonder if we'll see some of these companies that are trying to take a crack at actually competing with the hyperscalers as like cloud, serious cloud providers. I do wonder if some of these companies will get to the point where they have a lot of energy, but they basically just have to sell to another more sophisticated player that can actually take over and turn it into, help it realize its potential.
Yeah. The chat is asking for an update on TBPN merch, if it will be available for our most loyal soldiers in the chat.
So
I think we got to set something up.
Yeah, we got to figure out how to make this happen. We the first run of merch, we didn't want to sell it. We had never made merch as a company before, and it didn't feel right to sell something that is not our core competency. But we had a meeting yesterday talking about the next run of merch and getting that available by the beginning of this coming year. So stay tuned. And thank you for your patience.
We got to get Restream on some merch. One live stream, 30 plus destinations. They make our stream possible every day. Multi-stream and reach your audience wherever they are. I had a friend that asked for some advice. If you're making money during the bull run, what should you do if you feel like you're at the top? What's the safest portfolio for a young person these days?
Rotate into watches. Go entirely into Swiss horology.
I mean, like if your comparison is NFTs, like yes, like the watch market did actually draw down post NFT crash,
and there were people that converted NFT earnings into watches, and they
so
probably did better.
I feel like the Rolex market sold off by like 30% or something.
Yeah.
But I mean, a lot of NFTs went to zero.
Still above retail, and for most watches.
But yeah, I mean, it feels like there's the existence of a risk curve, and the companies that are trading at the highest. You just have to go back to the basics of the Warren Buffett stuff of like company with no earnings trading at tens of billions of dollars. That's going to be the most dangerous. They will be most punished in a down economy, whereas a hyperscaler that still has enterprise licenses and a huge ad business is going to fare better even if they get a haircut. We saw this with Meta during the last cycle. I mean, they traded down a huge amount, like almost 50% off the metaverse highs, but built back up pretty quickly on the next wave. And then, of course, you got gold, you got Bitcoin, you got real estate, you got plenty of things. But what would you counsel someone in their 20s making decent money to do with excess earnings at this point in time?
I don't know. I think that the young millennials, Gen Z, are overly obsessed with investing. It's all that a lot of people can think about, and it ends up being a massive distraction from just getting better at your craft, your career, and just increasing your earning power. So I think the number one, I mean, I talked to the guys on the team about this. We're obviously talking about different private companies, different investments all day long on the show, and so it's easy to get kind of fixated and get kind of FOMO around this stuff. But anybody knows if you've made a sizable investment or if you've made an investment ever that's like double-digit percentage of your net worth and it's trading liquid, that can be just such
emotional roller coaster.
Yeah, just such a massive distraction from what you should be focused on in your 20s, which is just increasing your skill set, building your network, like figuring out how you can increase cash flow. So, I don't know. You had a. I think
my take was. There's huge alpha in not even picking the correct asset, but just setting up your life so that the money actually gets into the asset before you can spend it. Yeah. And so when I started making money in my 20s, every time I would get paid, I would go to the bank, I would take out something like $1,000 of cash and put it in a safety deposit box. And that just built up over time. And I realized that if I was out on the weekends, I could not access it because you'd have to physically go to the bank to get the cash. And so I realized that if you're out with friends and they're like, should we, spend all this money on whatever? If you have it in your checking account, you're like, yeah, no problem. If you have it in your savings account, it's like supposed to be in savings, but you can just click one button and move it over.
I remember being a teenager and realizing that your savings account was like literally one transfer away from checking.
It's ridiculous.
Like, wow, this takes a lot of willpower to actually make it savings versus spendings.
Yeah, exactly. So if you build up a literal hoard of treasure, it's incredible psychologically because you open up that safety deposit box and you can physically see the wealth growing, which is incredibly enriching. It's incredibly satisfying, and it makes investing very much addicting. But even just going into your payroll provider and usually you can route your paycheck to some sort of investment platform, maybe public.com, investing for those who take it seriously. They got multi-asset investing, industry-leading yields, trusted by millions. And then you can set up like automated buys on ETFs if you like the Mag 7, if you like gold, if you like Bitcoin, like whatever you want, you can have automatic investments happening so that you're not spending all your time trying to become like a hedge fund
Ideally,
guy, unless that's actually your life's work.
The service that you would have liked is somebody you go and you give them cash.
Yeah.
And they use a movie cash to show you the pile. And they take that, they actually invest it.
That's a good service. But to access it, you have to go.
You can go look at the cash. You can.
The physical key was really, really great. It was.
I've never had one of those.
Yeah, safety deposit box is underrated.
Do they still make those?
They do. Yeah,
really.
Available at pretty much every bank.
Have little a mouse. You have little.
I don't have it. It is somewhat rodent coded. To just be hoarding, dragon coded potentially, to hoard your pile of gold.
Or could kind of cool and mysterious if it's all over the country, like you've got a little stash in Dallas, a little keep some in the Bay.
Yeah. What do you think, Tyler?
I actually know a lot of friends who have like a Bitcoin like wallet, and then they have the seed phrase in like different safety deposit boxes all over like the state.
Yep.
So they have to drive. It's like 4 hours to drive to every single bank.
That's diamond hands, baby. They're not paper handing anything.
Yeah.
And so if they're just continuing to contribute to that, the trick is that the cash flow typically comes in like monthly or every other week installments. And so how do you actually set up that so that it's happening on a regular basis, but still inaccessible. That's a little bit tricky. Maybe someone can build it. Maybe someone can use Privy, our wallet infrastructure partner. Wallet infrastructure for every bank. Privy makes it easy to build on crypto rails, securely spin up white label wallets, sign transactions, and integrate on-chain infrastructure, all through one simple API. Barely AI says, looks like NVIDIA and OpenAI will be paying 0 investment banking fees for their $100 billion partnership.
Some
Hit me with the
managing
wah,
partnerships,
wah. So sad for the investment bankers. We talked to Carried No Interest. He was telling
Wall
us.
Street in. Cut Wall Street in.
Come on, break us off. Break off Morgan Stanley. Break off Goldman Sachs. Those guys
No,
need a
it's
break.
it's really impressive. I mean, it's just these
Sam
founder
Altman
to
deals
founder
guy.
deals
Yep.
at this scale is very cool.
Yeah. I mean, that's what everything is. We talked about this with NVIDIA, like spending like a few $1 million lobbying in Washington, but Jensen's there. And founder to president, founder to founder, like that's the nature of these deals. It's always the nature of these deals.
You gotta price in the Gulfstream expenses with the lobbying fee.
You can tell more about how a company is doing in DC by where their Gulfstream is parked than their lobbying budget, for sure. Where's the Gulfstream parked? Has it been at Mar-a-Lago? Has it been in D.C.? That's what's moving the needle these days. This screenshot says Altman and Wong negotiated their pact largely through a mix of virtual discussions and one-on-one meetings in London, San Francisco, and Washington, D.C., with no bankers involved, according to people close to the talks who declined to be named because they weren't
This was a
authorized to speak.
multinational deal.
It was. They were going all over the world. London, they were probably talking about it in white tails. Remember, they were in white tie. And DC, who knows? They might have been chatting to each other. I don't think they were both at Hill and Valley, but they might have been there overlapped at something or other, maybe the inauguration. The arrangement calls for NVIDIA to invest $10 billion at a time in OpenAI.
$10 billion slugs.
They have $60 billion in cash and cash equivalents right now, so they can, without generating any more free cash flow, they can just keep paying that.
If you were Jensen, would you lever up massively?
Maybe.
Become just entirely indexed to each other, right?
I mean, it's happening.
Say if we go down, we're going down together.
There's more news about the AI Keiretsu that's coming together. OpenAI partners with Oracle and SoftBank for 5 new U.S. data centers. 7 gigawatts is announced.
And what's crazy is they're still, while they're doing this,
Yeah.
they're doing deals with Broadcom. They're doing deals with
Oracle,
with
SoftBank,
CoreWeave, right?
CoreWeave. Microsoft still. I mean, they're buying from everyone. It's no one wants to be GPU poor in 2025, going into 2026. You want to be, keeping the GPUs cool, not on fire, fire. So Wall Street Journal says OpenAI laid out its vision for a vast $1 trillion building.
I think it's better if you're scaling GPUs but keeping them on fire. If they're not on fire, then your partners are going to be looking and saying,
you
"Hey,
don't want cold GPUs sitting there idle, just or eating a hole in your balance sheet. You want to be maxing those tokens out, getting paid." Showcasing the development of a Central Park-sized complex 180 miles west of Dallas. This is from 2 days ago by Berber Jin in the Journal. OpenAI unveils plans for seemingly limitless expansion of computing power in Texas Prairie. Startup showcases ground zero of AI boom and its plans to shepherd $1 trillion in infrastructure spending. So the $1 trillion number is getting thrown around for the first time because Stargate was originally $500 billion, and now we're up at $1 trillion. Is that right?
Yeah, and remember, even at $500 billion, Elon was basically saying, "Hey, nobody involved here actually has the cash to do this." So
just wait until these stocks run up and Oracle's up $300 billion.
Larry says, "Hold my beer.
I'm good for my 10.
Hold my green juice.
I'm good for my $500 billion."
But yeah, once you get into the $1 trillion range, you're approaching the GDP of some serious countries, right?
Some serious countries. OpenAI disclosed it would ultimately need more than 13 times the computing power of its first nascent site, which is rising out of the Texas brushland. Frenzied construction here has turned a sea of red dirt into 8 hyper-futuristic data centers, bringing online roughly 900 megawatts of capacity. More than 6,000 workers labor on the project each day, including electricians, plumbers, and steel welders, alternating between two 10-hour shifts 7 days a week. Wow. They're what is that? 2 to 10, 7. 2, 10, 7. 2 a.m. to 10 p.m. 7 days a week, something.
Yeah, people in the data center business see people with
996.
computer
That'd be
jobs,
nice.
computer jobs saying, "Oh yeah, I do 996."
Yeah, I mean, I wonder if they have 2 shifts, 10 hours. Does that mean they have 2 crews that are working 70-hour weeks? Are people taking days off, or are they rotating their shifts so that you get a day off every
I think
couple
they would
of days?
get into pretty hot water. I don't think you could like run and say
Hard,
you're working
yeah.
7 days a week forever. I don't think employment law works like that.
Gray
Don't
towers
correct
of
me.
gas turbines have dotted the landscape since the spring, offering backup power. On a tour with reporters Tuesday, Oracle and OpenAI executives showcased the 1,100-acre site, calling it the largest AI supercomputing complex in the world. Outside, workers wearing dust masks and sunglasses shuttled around in buggies, trying to shield themselves from the 100-degree heat. One of the buggies flew a flag that said, "Jesus is the answer."
1,100.
Not very AGI pilled. I thought we were getting God in a box. What's going on? Just Eliezer Yudikowsky shows up. He's like, no. Like they're building God here. You're building God. You're doing the thing. Like, what are you doing here? There was literally nothing here a year ago, said Anuj, who works on the OpenAI computing team. They also announced 5 new data center sites across the U.S. built with Oracle and Japanese tech conglomerate SoftBank. It said the new facilities would help bring online nearly 7 gigawatts of power, enough for almost 8 million homes, enough for a lot of API calls from Devin, from Cognition, the makers of Devin, the AI software engineer. Crush your backlog with your personal AI engineering team. Company executives made it clear that the Abilene site was just the beginning, noting they envisioned a need for more than 20 gigawatts of computing capacity to meet the explosive demand for ChatGPT, which now has more than 700 million weekly users. I was laughing about, you know how in the ChatGPT, if you fire off Pro, like GPT-5 Pro, it kind of thinks for like 20 minutes. And everyone's saying like, oh yeah, this is good. Like we want the agents to be reasoning for longer and longer. I feel like there's an opportunity for some startup just to be like, we've cracked the code. Our model reasons for 2 days straight. So send us your request and we'll get back to you in 2 days.
And the agent just like is pretending, so it's just like
Yeah, it just has a
thumb,
progress bar.
twiddling its thumb until the last 20 minutes, and then just starts going.
No. Of course, what you do is you have the loading bar there, and then secretly you have a human doing the work, and you have a human that's like dealing with this.
Well, I think the thing is like the longer the period,
Yeah.
the higher the expectations, and I just don't know that. I think that I guess the thing that I would want to know is like if you're running a deep research query for 20 minutes, and then if you decide to run it for 2 days, how much better is it, right?
Yeah.
If it's 10 times better,
Yep.
could potentially be worth it for different types of tasks. If it's
But if
30% better, is it worth the wait?
Yeah. There is a world where you just route it to the human. There's also the world where for
John,
the really
don't
low.
don't encourage this. People have already gotten into trouble.
Yeah, they have. The other funny idea is like for a lot of there have to be a certain set of queries that just get asked the same like every single day. And they should just store those in a database and cache them. Because if like you have to imagine that every single day someone is asking, like just going to ChatGPT and lighting the GPUs on fire to just ask like, what's the capital of Illinois? You know, or what's the capital of California?
Can you run a GPT like Pro deep research report for what is the capital?
You can do it for anything. Yeah, you can go to deep research and fire off 20 minutes of compute and say, what is the capital of California? Answer in just one word. And like it will just think for 20 minutes and then spit out Sacramento. Like
No, it won't think that long. It like thinks based off how hard it is.
no, deep research will
Yeah,
continue
I just
to
said, what is the capital of California? Answer in one word, and it's
deep research.
yeah, it's doing a deep research query.
Let's see how long this takes.
Okay.
It's not gonna come back in 2 minutes. It's gonna cook for 10 minutes.
All right, I was a little bit late, but I just started a timer.
Okay.
So we'll see.
What do you think?
Also, there's like a sense where like, the like embeddings of facts is basically just the model already. Like you can just think of a model as like a compressed version of the internet, or
Yeah.
at least like non-reasoning models.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like,
But wouldn't it be even more compute efficient to just do fuzzy lookup of these questions and see if they satisfy?
Siobhan in the chat says cache-based retrievals are.
Oh, yeah.
But apparently not here because GPT-5
It's
Pro.
not fully implemented.
Okay. It reasoned for 47 seconds.
Okay.
And it
This is
nailed
pro.
it.
You didn't do deep research though. I want to see you turn on deep research and do it.
Well, this is the Pro, which is research grade intelligence.
No. That's not the deep
I need to do
research.
thinking.
No. You need to click on the little plus button next to the chat box, and then check the box on deep research. Do they still have this? I don't know. They might have deprecated this. I think it's still there.
It's still there.
Yeah.
There. Okay, I'm doing a deep.
You're doing deep research.
No, this is good. This is
Really
good. It says,
verifying.
Just to confirm, are you asking for the current capital of California, or are
Yeah.
you interested in historical capitals as well?
Yeah.
Let's see, current capital.
Tell it to also design a website in Figma. Think bigger, build faster. Figma helps design and development teams build great products together. Get started for free. While we're waiting for that, let's keep reading from the journal. Each gigawatt of capacity is expected to cost roughly $50 billion, Tyler. $50 billion per gigawatt. That's the number in the journal, meaning the company is laying the groundwork for at least $1 trillion in infrastructure spending. Demand is likely to reach closer to 100 gigawatts, one company executive said, which would be $5 trillion.
Which is roughly the GDP of Germany.
Or Japan.
Yeah, GDP of Japan is 4 trillion. Germany is 4.6.
Good luck, Germany and Japan. You're getting left behind. You're part of the permanent underclass now. It's over for you.
I feel bad for lighting the GPUs on fire for this. It says,
it's cooking.
got it. I'll confirm the current capital of California for you and get back shortly. And it's doing the
cooking.
full report.
It's cooking. Like, this is the real pitch for the
I'm getting my money's worth.
Brandon Jacoby in the chat says, breaking. Jordy discovers the UX issues of every foundation model company. Because
Fix it, Brandon.
Yeah. Aren't you doing consulting now, Brandon? You got to get in the trenches.
Yeah.
All these folks.
If the labs haven't hit you up yet,
If someone who spends 10 hours a day studying this
it's
stuff,
reading Wikipedia.
just like how many drops of water did this use? How many fish had to like go find some other home?
Extinct.
Yeah.
It should come back and it's like thought for 15 minutes. Made 2 species extinct.
lit 7 gallons of diesel on fire.
Okay, it's
Ridiculous.
checking all the sources.
It's
reading
good.
assembly.
I like a detailed report. I like to know that the AI did its job. Don't just sit there, Clanker, and riff off cache-based retrieval. I want the deep research every single time.
Even for one-word fact.
Even for a one-word fact, I want you to be sure. I don't want any hallucinations.
Well, I mean, this is a tough question too. A lot of people that aren't from the West Coast
They would say
or the United
Los
States
Angeles,
would say,
San
"Yeah,
Francisco."
what's the capital of California?" Yeah, San Francisco.
I was using this as an example about.
I remember I must have been like 7 years old, figuring out that Sacramento was the capital of California, and I thought that was the funniest thing ever.
Yeah, it is. It is hilarious.
All right, it got it. It thought for 101 seconds.
That's not that long for deep research.
It went for 4 sources. It did 19 searches. So this is why I can't trust. You know, everybody keeps screenshotting these Google Trend reports.
Yeah.
I'm not sure that Google has figured out how to
Exclude AI
agents
from,
because this just did 19 searches for a single fact.
Yeah.
And so
That's
if you're
triggering a lot
looking
of
at the
things.
growth of queries on Google,
Yep.
you would think, and if a lot of people are asking this kind of question, every single keyword is going to be spiking.
Well, if you want to get your brand mentioned in ChatGPT, you got to go to Profound.
That's right.
Reach millions of consumers who are using AI to discover new products and brands and get a demo. I don't think we've figured out the final form of what financing for compute looks like, said Sam Altman. But I assume, like in many other technological revolutions, figuring out the right answer to that will unlock a huge amount of value delivered to society.
And delivered to OpenAI shareholders.
For sure. Yeah, it is an interesting question because, you know, Dario was talking about how like each training run looks great by itself, but when you put them all in one structure, it looks like you just have this never-ending money pit because you spent $100 million on a training run, you made $1 billion over the next 2 years. You spent $1 billion on a training run, you made $10 billion over the next 2 years. You spend $100 billion on a training run, you make $1 trillion over the next 2 years. And there's a question of, okay, how long until it just completely maxes out? Are there diminishing returns to these things? But even if the trends hold, you still wind up with this like ever growing money pit that should act as like some sort of slowing down force. You would.
I think when you dig into this quote, I don't think we figured out the final form of what financing for compute looks like. The question is like, will this actually be a novel financial instrument, or it will be remixing something that Wall Street has used in mortgages?
Maybe it's debt. Maybe it's debt. Who knows?
GPU-backed securities.
The Tuesday announcement made it clear that SoftBank, once seen as a formidable OpenAI funding partner, has scaled back its ambitions in the data center build-out, which the Wall Street Journal reported in July. 3 new sites, one located near Abilene, another north of El Paso in New Mexico, and a yet-to-be-announced Midwest location, combined with an expansion to the Abilene complex, will be capable of delivering 5.5 gigawatts of capacity. Those will be built by Oracle. The other 2 smaller sites, one in Lordstown, Ohio, and the other near Austin, Texas, will be built in partnership with SoftBank and generate 1.5 gigawatts over the next 18 months. The first completed data center, called Building 1, painted a pristine white that contrasts with the reddish dirt surrounding the site, is larger than 2 Walmart supercenters. Doesn't feel that big to me, but certainly huge. Entering,
the 1,100. They said 1,100 acres earlier in the article. That's under 2 square miles.
It is crazy how compressed this is. Obviously, huge when you're walking around, but we're not in. Okay, we're losing Yosemite over this. Yeah,
we're not in the
in the full terraforming. I mean, Elias Sutskever told the San Francisco Chronicle that he could imagine a future where the entire Earth is covered with solar panels if the trends continue.
Gabe in the chat says, shout out to Lordstown, Ohio. Factory used to build Chevys.
Yeah.
This is your thesis or take. Reindustrialization is happening.
It is.
It's a lot less jobs.
Yep.
And it's data centers.
Yep.
But the white pill there might be that if we can build big data centers really quickly at the scale that traditional infrastructure projects would have taken 10 plus years, if we can do that in a few years, it could create a precedent where somebody could decide, I'm going to build this new rail line in 2 years.
Is a Walmart supercenter really 1 mile long? QSBS rollover saying that the building's 2 miles long.
I was saying the site is 1,100 acres
2 miles.
total.
Yeah.
It's not which is like 1.7.
It's huge.
Square miles. So obviously massive, but I don't think the building itself is anywhere near that.
Well, fiber lines snake across the data centers and underneath the ground, allowing the AI chips called GPUs, in case you were wondering, the Wall Street Journal's got you covered, to talk to one another and complete requests more quickly. Proponents of the infrastructure boom say it will bring hundreds of thousands of jobs and revive American manufacturing. In January, OpenAI unveiled a $500 billion data center project, Stargate. We know about this. The reality is more mixed. While data center providers provide plentiful temporary construction jobs, far fewer people are needed once they are built. Abilene mayor said residents had mixed feelings about the site and its power and water usage, though some of the concerns have been assuaged. An Oracle executive said there will be roughly 1,700 permanent jobs on site once the construction ends.
I think the things that ends up being a little bit disappointing is these projects get announced and they're saying we're going to spend $20 billion here, and then we're going to create like 1,000 jobs, or we're going to create 300 jobs, and that is very significant. That will be good for the local economies in these regions, but it's not. Hey, we're replaced. We lost 87,000 manufacturing jobs last month. I think it was. Yeah. We're not really making a dent in that.
It takes a lot. There's more news on the job displacement stuff from Andre Karpathy. He has a good post breaking things down. But first, let me tell you about Graphite.dev, code review for the age of AI. Graphite helps teams on GitHub ship higher quality software faster and get started for free. So Andre Karpathy says...
Chat's debating, by the way.
What is the chat debating?
They said Jordy is a Cadillac.
I'm a Cadillac
Not
guy.
true.
John has
Somebody
a Cadillac.
said I seem like a Dodge guy.
Hellcat SRT. I love it.
Yeah, not quite. Never had a
He
Dodge.
likes the
I had
German
I had a
vehicles.
Ford Raptor, which I loved. Was not super practical, but it was a car that I wanted as a child, so I had to get it at least once.
Yep. So Andre Karpathy says AI isn't replacing radiologists. Tyler, do you remember this prediction?
Yeah, was this Hinton?
Hinton.
Yeah.
Yes. Years ago. This was what, 10 years ago now or something?
Yeah, because this was based off just like image classification. So this
Yep.
was like early on, like CNNs. Like
Yeah.
this was probably mid 2010s.
Yeah.
I assume.
So the expectation was that rapid progress in image recognition AI would delete radiology jobs, as famously predicted by Jeff Hinton, now almost a decade ago. In reality, radiology is doing great and is growing. So what's going on here? Obviously, image recognition is fantastic. These algorithms are remarkable, and there's been a ton of progress. So Andre Karpathy says there are a lot of, in his opinion, naive predictions out there on the imminent impact of AI on the job market. For example, a year ago, Andre was asked by someone who should know better if he thinks that there will be any software engineers still today, like a year from now. Like, this is how accelerationist this person was. And Andre says, spoiler, I think we're going to make it. This is happening too broadly. This post goes into detail on why it's not that simple, using the example of radiology. And I thought this was really, really interesting. And it obviously applies outside of radiology. So first off, the benchmarks are nowhere near broad enough to reflect real, actual scenarios. So even though you can classify cancer in a radiology environment with a whole bunch of training data very reliably, there's still tons of edge cases where having a human in the loop is advantageous. And then just in general, the job is a lot more multifaceted than image recognition. Like if you just think about the job of a radiologist, it's not purely just look at image, detect cancer, look at image, detect cancer, look at image,
Yeah,
detect cancer.
can you imagine if you were getting God forbid,
Yeah.
somebody's getting seeing a traditional office of a radiologist and they're just watching a television screen that's telling them that something is wrong with them and using a voice model to explain it, and then it just is like,
No, they're just in hinge mode. Swipe right if it's if it's cancer, swipe left if it's not, and they're just sitting there swiping all day long. Obviously, that's not the job
yeah,
of a radiologist.
it's like you know,
There's so much more. They're
It-
doing
any-
research on
anytime-
what's changing, integrating new information, talking to different patients about all the different signals, what they could be doing, what they could be putting in their body, how are they feeling, what medicines they're taking. There's a ton of different stuff that they're probably involved in.
yeah, anytime anyone gets any type of lab or report from a doctor,
Yep.
the first thing you want to do is talk to somebody that's an expert on that, your doctor,
Yep.
and have them explain it to you, the implications, et cetera, good or bad.
Yep. And then he highlights deployment realities. So regulatory, insurance, liability, diffusion, and an institutional inertia. Like it just takes time to roll these technologies out. But the last one is super interesting to me. He cites Jevons paradox. So if radiologists are sped up via AI as a tool, a lot more demand shows up. And so if all of a sudden the cost to get a scan or the time that it takes to actually do the scan drops, everyone will say, well, I want to be scanned all the time. I want to be on top of any sort of development medical that could be detected by a radiologist. And so he concludes by saying, I will say that radiology was, in my opinion, not among the best examples to pick on in 2016. It's too multifaceted, too high risk, and too regulated. When looking for jobs that will change a lot due to AI on shorter timescales, I'd look in other places. Jobs that look like repetition of one rote task, each task being relatively independent, closed, not requiring too much context, short in time, forgiving, the cost of a mistake is low, and of course, automatable given current and digital capability. Even then, I'd expect to see AI adopted as a tool first, where jobs change and refactor, more monitoring and supervising than manual doing, etc. Maybe coming up, we'll find a better and broader set of examples of how all of this is playing out across the industry. About 6 months ago, I was also asked to vote if we will have less or more software engineers in 5 years. Exercise left for the reader. What do you think he meant, Tyler? What do you think?
More.
Of course. Yeah. He thinks the number of software engineers will increase, but they will be using AI as a tool to lever.
Yeah, I wonder if anybody's done a study on how many more developer people that have done software development this year versus last year. Has to be significantly more, just because, if you're using Replit now, right, you are a software engineer, right? It's somebody might want to get technical and say, oh, well, if you're just prompting, you're not really software engineering. But how different is that from somebody getting their start and like copying, pasting, lines of code?
Wow. We got some news about TikTok that China has more or less signed off on the deal, and it has sent Larry Ellison / Oracle skyrocketing on Polymarket to an 89% chance of acquiring TikTok. This will be an interesting story to see where it actually lands. Of course, you can go to Polymarket if you want to keep monitoring the situation, as always.
Should we talk about this new Elon lawsuit?
Yes, new Elon lawsuit.
Elon Musk is Andrew Curran is on the timeline sharing. Elon Musk is suing OpenAI again, second suit, this time for alleged misappropriation of trade secrets, intentional interference with prospective economic relations, and unfair competition. So they say the desire to win the artificial intelligence race has driven OpenAI to cross the line of fair play. OpenAI violated California federal law by inducing former xAI employees, including Shu-Chen Lee and Jimmy Frater, and a senior finance executive, to steal and share xAI's trade secrets. The copy in here is funny, and again, this is
the lawyers
from
are getting creative.
This is from the complaint, right? The lawyers are not using ChatGPT.
It doesn't seem like
it. This is handmade by hook or by crook. OpenAI clearly will do anything when threatened by a better innovator, including plundering and misappropriating the technical advancements, source code, and business plans of xAI. What began with OpenAI's suspicious hiring of Shu-Chen Lee, an early xAI engineer who admitted to stealing the company's entire code base.
Wow.
That's a bold thing to admit. Has now revealed a broader and deeply troubling pattern of trade secret misappropriation, unfair competition, and intentional interference with economic relationships by OpenAI. OpenAI's conduct in response to being out-innovated by xAI, whose Grok model overtook OpenAI's ChatGPT models and performance metrics, reflects not an isolated lapse, but a strategic campaign to undermine xAI and gain unlawful advantage in the race to build the best artificial intelligence models. What do you think, John?
This is why lawyers with English degrees are MVPs, according to Gabe.
Yeah. Yep. Wordsmiths, word cells.
It seems like we are in the territory of economic warfare, lawfare. Who knows what actually
Elon's
comes of this?
blending the Chinese way, the way of the engineer, with the American way.
Yes, the lawyerly society is coming out in this case.
Yeah, I mean, easy.
Seem...
Obviously innocent until proven guilty with Shu-Chen Lee.
Yeah.
Don't know if this is true or not, that he admitted
Yep.
to stealing the company's entire code base. Would be crazy and a totally unforced error if he actually did something like that.
Yep.
Well,
no matter what, you want to stay compliant. You want to get on Vanta. Automate compliance, manage risk, improve trust continuously. Vanta's trust management platform takes the manual work of the security and compliance process and replaces it with continuous automation, whether you're pursuing your first framework or managing a complex program. I wanted to revisit this internal tech email because this is an important cornerstone of Elon's battle with OpenAI. So on September 20th of 2017, Elon Musk sent an email to the OpenAI team The subject was honest thoughts. And he said, guys, I've had enough. This is the final straw. Either go do something on your own or continue with OpenAI as a nonprofit. I will no longer fund OpenAI until you have made a firm commitment to stay, or I'm just being a fool who is essentially providing free funding for you to create a startup. Discussions are over. Interesting. And it's gone back and forth because here he's sort of predicting.
So in hindsight, he somewhat
Called
probably feels like a fool for
Yes.
essentially providing free funding for you
Yes.
to create a startup. So
And it's been odd because the ask has never, I mean, at least that I've been aware of, Elon's never just asked for pro rata equity based on how much he put into the nonprofit. I think that creates crazy tax and legal implications, but that feels like what the fair ask would be. Like you were throwing out, like if you put in $100 million and you just assume that the round that would have been done at that time would have been $1 billion, you should get 10%, right? And
Yeah.
here's 10% of the common or the preferred or whatever.
But remember,
But it's a weird
nobody,
scenario.
like it seems like they hit a standstill with the for-profit conversion, right?
Because of Elon's lawsuit too.
Well,
It's crazy, yeah.
partially, but also people
Yeah.
are, you
Yeah.
know, the governing body, the nonprofit governing bodies of California were
Yeah.
not super excited about the transition.
Yeah, and so Matthew Berman was going back and forth with Elon because Elon took shots at Anthropic. He said winning was never in the set of possible outcomes for Anthropic. And Matthew Berman said, hey, Elon said the same thing about OpenAI. And Elon said, no, I never said that. I told everyone who asked in the beginning that I thought the probability of OpenAI beating Google was 1%, infinitely different from 0%. Good point. And then Elon says, after the defense of the ancients, the Dota 2 win, I raised the probability to 10%. That they would catch up. And Matthew Berman sort of responded and unpacked the screenshot saying, first, I'm a big fan of everything Elon has done to push society into the future, but I reread his emails with Sam Altman and Greg Brockman, and it really seems like he told them they had no chance of succeeding relative to Google on January 31st, 2018. So after that previous email we read, Elon told Sam Altman and Greg Brockman, OpenAI is on a path of certain failure relative to Google. There obviously needs to be an immediate and dramatic action, or everyone except for Google will be co-signed to irrelevance. And it's played out very differently. They played their hand very well. They got the consumer application that hit product market fit out faster than Google, only by a couple months. Like the Gemini app dropped, I think in February or March, just a few months after ChatGPT launched. And the models have been
mean Bard?
neck and neck. It wasn't, was it Bard that dropped? I forget which.
I thought Bard was the response.
But I feel like in the way I remember the timeline is that the ChatGPT website comes out and everyone realizes that just talking to an RLHF LLM is a great experience and magical and interesting and passes the Turing test. And Google had a bunch of models, Palm and Bard, internally, but they'd never really pushed them out in a meaningful way. And it seemed like ChatGPT kicked Google into action and led Google to actually like productize a lot of their research that had been more tested and shared internally. Tyler, do you have more context there?
Yeah, so it was Bard that came out right after ChatGPT.
Okay.
And Gemini was like the following.
Yeah, so they still had to do a rebrand, which is tough because then you have to reintroduce the product. Obviously, it's grown a ton, and we've seen that, you know, the Empire Strikes Back. Not a lot of that happening in the United States necessarily, but certainly international. Sort of an iPhone Android story happening all over again. Anyway, Magnus Carlsen tells Joe Rogan about how he treats chess as a hobby. He never wants it to feel like work and prioritizes fun and enjoyment. The thing is that chess has always been a bit of a hobby for me. He's one of the best chess players in the world, of course. This is how Magnus Carlsen works. Once it starts to feel like work, then it's harder for me. Turn your work into fun and enjoyment. You'll never work a day in your life.
You might get 14,000 likes on X, like Dylan.
Yes, and Daniel, Growing Daniel, says, having known him for a while, I think Elon Musk is probably one of the least self-disciplined people on Earth. He just really enjoys problem solving. So he just bounces around from one project to the next.
Mogging
solving
them.
it. Mogging them, yes. of course, Growing Daniels co-conspirator now runs Julius.ai. What analysis do you want to run? Chat with your data and get expert-level insights in seconds. Loved by over 2 million users and trusted by individuals at Princeton, BCG, and Zapier. Bayes Lord says, anyone who's naively calling bubble right now has not internalized the physics of our world. Most of them are simply ignorant about AI progress and its implications. Of course, there will be fluctuations, but of course we could stumble. But history marches on. And he shares a chart of the world GDP over the last 2 millennia. And it's interesting because, like, you can take this in a few different ways. You can kind of look at this and say, okay, nothing ever happens. It's just a kind of a smooth exponential curve. But I'm looking and I'm seeing a hiccup there in like the mortgage-backed security crisis for sure, where GDP shrunk globally or something happened.
But it's helpful. It's helpful.
Isn't that 2007, 2008, right?
You know,
Something.
you remember being, I was, basically a kid at that time, and it felt like I could sense the doom and dread in the adults, right?
Yeah,
around that time.
I mean, from my perspective, I was completely caught off guard by the mortgage-backed security crisis. Like, it was because I wasn't following the market.
Because you didn't have capital.
I wasn't monitoring the situation. Yeah,
you didn't have capital to deploy.
I lived in a house with a mortgage, so I was certainly affected. But
if you could
didn't
go back in time, you would have raised and deployed a fund into single family.
But I wasn't seeing top signals. It was like I was introduced to the crisis.
Were you in college?
The crisis. I graduated in 2007. So
from college,
from high school.
Oh, okay.
No, from high school. And so when I arrived, I chose to study economics because I wanted to understand the crisis more. And so I was reading the Wall Street Journal trying to understand. And I was introduced to like the collapse of Lehman Brothers, which I believe happened in 2008. Lehman Brothers collapse. When did that happen? The bankruptcy, September of 2008. And so I graduated in 2007. And then so it must have been like sophomore year. So things were like melting down my freshman year. But it was kind of
collapse of Lehman. Is that good?
Is that good?
Did we not like Lehman?
I mean, it was a very complicated crisis to dig into because it was all these layered financial instruments, mortgage-backed securities, and then collateralized debt obligations. So they would take one mortgage, they'd take a whole bunch of mortgages. This is the famous like Margot Robbie in the bathtub scene where she explains that you get a whole bunch of mortgages, you bundle them up, you securitize, you slice the different tranches of debt so that the best mortgages are in the AAA, but then as you keep re-slicing them, they kept getting re-rated as, oh, well, this is the best of the previous bad stuff, so that's good, and the best of the worst is the best, and the rating agencies had a really bad time throughout because eventually, like, the economy pulled back, everyone got over-levered, people were buying multiple homes, and there was a whole mood in 2005, 2006, 2007 that like average people, like the example would be, you know, when the Uber driver is pitching you on Cardano, like it might be the top, that type of thing. Like when you know your barber's telling you about the latest NFT drop, like, you know, watch out. The analogy then was people were saying like, I'm making more money just owning my home, and my home equity is going up by more than my salary. So like I bought a $500,000 home. I make $100,000 a year, but my home, my banker just called me and said, your home's worth $600,000 now. And the home prices were going crazy. Yeah. And so obviously there had to be a correction. And it crashed the entire global economy. And you can see it in the data today. But of course, as we zoom out further, we will, you know, see less.
The line keeps going up.
The line keeps going up. Well, D2C is cyclical, but ever evolving. The back and forth locked in shares this chart or this meme. Dropship bros convert to supplement bros, which switch to dropship bros, which convert to supplement bros, which go back to dropship bros and back to supplement bros.
Supplements continue to be the economic engine of the manosphere.
Weren't we talking to the CEO of Numeral, Sam, and he was saying he owns a supplement company?
Yeah, he started a gummy supplement company back in the day. That's still,
and he's like, it's still doing well. That's crazy. Anyway, Numeral, sales tax and autopilot. Spend less than 5 minutes per month on sales tax compliance. If you're a dropship bro, if you're a supplement bro, you got to pay your taxes. You got to get on Numeral.
Create Dan McCormick's company is on numeral.
Yeah.
He's a supplement bro.
Lucy is on numeral.
Christina Cordova is quoting our interview with Christina's over at Linear, of
Great.
course. But we asked Brett Taylor yesterday about the triple, double, double debate and how maybe that's not good enough anymore. He said the faster you grow is sometimes correlated with a lack of a moat. I'd rather bet on a durable, high-quality revenue business and happy customers than just raw growth. Christina says fast ARR can be fragile ARR. Earned ARR tends to be sticky ARR. Not all growth is created equally.
Yeah.
I think Linear is obviously they're a partner.
Yep.
Somewhat biased, but of course
Just for those who don't know, Linear is a purpose-built tool for planning and building products, meet the system for modern software development, streamline issues, projects and product roadmaps, but continue.
Use the tool loved by OpenAI, Mercury,
Yes.
Retool, Ramp, Scale,
Yes.
anymore. But Linear is a perfect example of like great growth, but steady and
Yep.
just systematically earning the trust of pretty much every important new company in Silicon Valley over the last however many years. I think they're
Yeah, earned ARR. Yeah, it does feel like there's
2019. Yeah,
there's
that's-
like CARR reared its head recently. It's kind of gone out of favor, but contracted ARR, basically, you have some sort of LOI or some sort of trial that you're counting into.
Yeah, I mean
ARR.
the people that are abusing the ARR the most right now.
Extremely disrespectful to the gap metrics.
Well, and I'll just say it's the companies doing data labeling and services for labs, right? There's
yeah,
a
is
bunch
that
of-
ARR?
all the companies that exploded out of?
I don't think that many of them are actually quoting ARR numbers, though. Are they?
Are you kidding?
I feel like a lot of them are
almost
just
every
saying-
single one of them is saying, "Yeah, we got to 100 million ARR.
Oh,
We
really?
did this or that."
I thought it was
And
just like
if
we
you
did
actually
100 million. Because
No,
if you just
they're
say I
saying-
did 100 million, then that's just true.
No, and they're saying we're at 100 million ARR.
Sure.
And they're using it, I think, as like annualized run rate. But
Sure.
if you dig into the business, it's like they might have 40% margins because they're actually having to hire.
Well, the margin's
labor.
separate from like ARR with bad margins is completely separate from ARR with bad churn. Like,
Yeah.
because I probably, if you're underwriting it at a high multiple, you probably want to pay for lower margin, lower churn than higher margin, higher churn. Because higher churn means that like if the business stops growing, it's going to start shrinking. Whereas if you have 40% margins but super low churn, you're super sticky. It's like, okay, well then at least the business will continue to grow. You're not building on a leaky bucket. You know, you're not getting all the juice out of the bucket. You're only getting 40% of the juice. Since we're mixing analogies now, but
Get the blender out.
But-
these analogies.
but I mean, obviously these two metrics are linked, and you obviously want high margin and extremely sticky revenue.
But if you're a company like Linear and you see some which has like true earned ARR,
Yeah.
and then you have companies out there saying, throwing out these numbers around ARR, but they're reselling reselling GPU credits or something like that. It's kind of stolen valor, right?
Stolen
from
valor,
the
potentially.
true enterprise, contracted.
Where you're like you could stop the growth strategies, stop the sales team. They could stay home, and you're still printing.
Yeah.
That's the gold standard of enterprise software. That's why we love.
That's why we get up every morning.
Let's
We got to pull up this
video from Paula Rambles. There's this guy on TikTok who video calls ChatGPT, shows it objects, asks how much gram, then weighs it. Before we pull up this video, let me tell you about the generative video platform for developers, Fall, the world's best generative image, video, and audio models all in one place. Develop and fine-tune models with serverless GPUs and on-demand clusters.
You can get access to our soundboard by going to tbpn.com/sounds.
Yes.
Which is brought to you by our friends.
So let's
at
play
Fall.
the video of this guy on TikTok.
This is my hand. How you call this thing?
Yeah, I see your hand there, holding on to that pen. So
Okay,
that looks like
pen. How much gram is the pen? How much gram? Look, how much gram?
well, it's a little tricky to guess the exact weight.
Yes,
just by looking.
guess.
All right, I'll take a guess.
For a pan that size, it's probably somewhere around maybe 500 to 700 grams, give or
Let's see
take.
if GPT-5 is smarter. No, no
What
good,
is
no
it?
good.
Hey, it's all good.
34.
No,
Honestly,
it's no
with-
good. It's no good, man. It's no good.
no worries at all. It's just a bit of fun
I'm
guessing the weight.
worried. I'm worried. Look, I have this oil here. How much gram?
We're on a guessing roll. So for that little oil can, I'd say it might be somewhere around 300 to 500 grams, depending on how full it is. But let's see how close we get this time.
You said 300 to 500? Man, I want accurate thing. You know what I mean?
I get it. You're looking for something spot on. It's a bit of a challenge without a scale on my side, but hopefully that at least gives you a decent range.
This tugnana. How much gram?
Oh, you've got a mocha pot there. Nice. Those little
How you
coffee
call
makers,
it? How you call it?
that's called a mocha pot. It's basically a
Mocha
stovetop.
pot? Mokapa. How much gram mokapa?
So a mocha pot is usually pretty light. I'd say maybe around 400 to 600 grams, depending on the size. But of course, you'll know.
I hope you're right.
What's the number?
I hope you're right.
Ah, bro, like GPT-5 is worse and worse than GPT-4.
Definitely here to do my best, and I appreciate you rolling with it.
Yeah, this is your punishment, man. Talk with him.
Hey, Green Cocoa, any idea where the mayo's hiding? Maybe it's just chilling out behind you in the fridge somewhere. What's the deal with the ketchup and the mayo? Any condiment gossip we should know about?
They just talked? No. That's hilarious. That is not a Rocco Basilisk respecter. You shouldn't
Yeah.
be doing that.
He-
That's very rude.
That guy's absolutely cooked.
Did anyone see exactly what the numbers were? How close? Is it three?
No, it was
300
saying
to
like it was like
500
30.
grams?
I was seeing 35 on the.
That
the
can't be
scale.
35
yeah.
grams, right? It needs to be. I have no idea. I'm worse than GPT-5 for sure. If you ask me how much that pan weighs, I have no idea. Anyone have any idea? I have no idea.
Who knows?
Anyway, HBO Max says nice. We still got a couple of months.
Scroll down on this chart so
This
people
chart
can see this charting
is-
1998 to 2001.
Like what? Wait, this is just the Nasdaq, and it's just following perfectly. Like, what are we doing here? This is crazy. How the correlation here is like insane. Is this on the same like time scale too, or is this? This is just a wild chart that this
Well-
is so similar. It lines up scarily accurately. But it's just so weird because like if it's this obvious, you'd think it would be priced in. You think people would pull back or do something, but who knows? We'll keep monitoring the situation. It will be interesting. Let me tell you about Turbo Puffer. We puffin'.
We
Search
puffin'.
every byte, serverless vector, and full text search from burst principles on object storage. Fast, 10x cheaper, and extremely scalable. Jordy loves his puffer fish.
This
He's a
puffer is used by Linear, Notion, First,
breaking.
and many more.
WPP.
Wait, one thing
Media.
on this chart to be
Yes.
clear. I think it's tracking very closely. Obviously,
It does feel
you
very
single out individual, kind of points on the chart, and it's a little bit ominous. But at the same time, like Amazon went public in 1998, right? So like you can do a lot to kind of like, if you're the chart smith here, to kind of like pick the dates to try
Yeah.
to align it properly, right? So
Yeah.
I bet you could align this to just other bubbles throughout history and find similar patterns, right?
That doesn't really help, though. I mean, that's.
I'm just saying, like,
with
this
HBO Max.
doesn't-
Nice,
this-
we got a couple
this-
months.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just saying, like,
Yeah. No. It does feel like it's
like if you started
it's somewhat
this chart
selective.
in 1990, you said,
apophenia.
okay, the .com bubble began when Amazon went public,
Yeah.
right? Then this doesn't line up at all, right?
Sure. Yeah, you're kind of just selecting. I mean, yeah, I don't know. It's they're like overlaying it deliberately as close as possible. But this does feel like the crazy part is that the previous earlier sell-offs, the dip in 2023 to now is like that peak and valley seems to match as well. And then even like you can see earlier in 2025 we got the tariff sell off, and that kind of tracks what happened in 2000 in like the year 2000 exactly, or maybe 99. Lots of people
Yeah,
saying
but then
it's
again,
not-
was there like I don't know.
Well,
I just
don't
don't think
worry.
you should read.
Even if we wind up in the
History
trough of
rhymes.
disillusionment, we'll be slopping it up in the trough of disillusionment, grinding to the plateau of productivity.
We'll probably end up in a
time.
position where like we're only gonna eat fast casual slop bowls until we
When you're
get
in the
to a
trough,
new-
you eat the slop.
until we get out of the bear
You eat
market.
the slop bowl.
Somebody had a great. I gotta pull up this
Please.
comment on Spotify.
Someone's asking how much the gong weighs. Gong, how much gram?
how much gram.
And Aqua says mania is a crazy
So
drug.
Mika
It
Mika
is.
Flaus on Spotify
Stay
says
safe out there.
wearing the white suits on an off day to rally the bull. Ultimate top signal might just be poking the bear.
Well, I'm in a gray suit today. I'm feeling neutral about the market. Could go up, could go down. Who knows? But we'll be monitoring it here. In other news, breaking from us, TBPN, WPP Media has signed Michael Miraflor as global EVP. So congratulations to Michael Miraflor. He has been a fantastic champion.
Massive pickup. Hopefully wore his TBPN hat to work today. Hopefully he's not in the chat right now. First day at work, gets a corner office.
Yes.
Puts TBPN on the
Fired
big
up,
screen.
why not?
Fired up. Leave it on in the background. Put some
Congratulations.
subtitles on. But big pickup.
Yes.
And excited to see what he cooks on.
Always
over there.
enjoyed his commentary and excited to see more of it.
Paul Enright says in 2021, Mitchell Green from Lead Edge Capital. Of course, Mitchell's a friend of the show. We got to have him back on again.
I texted him this morning. We'll get him on soon.
He said to Paul, this year will be remembered for the GPs that sold stock and distributed capital to LPs versus the ones that raised funds, called capital, and made new investments. Was a wonderful observation I will never forget. Now feels similar in some ways. Why not both? Why not distribute capital, sell some positions, and raise some new funds?
Yeah, I don't know the dynamics of that, but that does feel like the ultimate
Well, yeah,
wizard
the
move is
liquidity-
to raise a massive fund at the top, don't deploy it, sell a bunch of positions, get out of the other stuff, basically just be sitting on a massive cash pile when you reach the trough of disillusionment, and then monetize the plateau of productivity.
Deploy into the trough.
Into the trough.
Well, you saw this chart yesterday.
What's that?
Somehow, like one of Andreessen's slides from a fundraising deck.
Newcomer, baby.
He
Leak
leaked it.
master. Oh, yeah. He got two decks.
So A16Z returned 15 billion or generated 15 billion in returns, including their recycled fees and carry in 2021.
Yep.
That was, biggest year on record by
Huge.
quite a lot.
Huge return. That's got to be a lot of Coinbase. And who else got out?
I think it
that
was like
year?
Solana,
Airbnb.
Avalanche, right? Some of these
There
big.
were a lot of stuff.
I don't know. Yeah.
But Coinbase was a huge position.
Yeah.
And I mean, they deployed in all these different rounds. And then I believe Coinbase went out and was probably distributed at something close to 100 billion market cap. So something there. Andrew Curran has more updates on Elon Musk's reuniting with the Trump administration. Andrew says their friendship is slowly being reforged. OpenAI, Anthropic, and Google already have similar agreements in place. OpenAI and Anthropic charge a $1 access fee. Google charges 47 cents because its president is the 47th president, right? Isn't that it? That's interesting. That's cute. Elon is charging the government 42 cents for access to Grok. This is a Hitchhiker's Guide reference. Have you read?
Finally, a competition for who can say the smallest number. It's been a lot of who can say the biggest number.
You want to be on the barbell, the extreme ends, charging the least and raising the most. Apparently, that's how business works.
Most CapEx, least.
Have you seen the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy? Have you?
No.
I thought it was just a book.
They adapted it into a movie. The movie's pretty good, but the book's probably better. Have you read the book?
I did read the book at one point.
Yeah, the book's great. But 42, of course, is the answer to the universe, all things, everything. It's a fun reference. The Trump administration will offer artificial intelligence models from Elon Musk's XAI to federal agencies through a new partnership under the agreement with the GSA, which oversees technology procurement. Agencies will get access to models such as Grok 4 and a new fast version called Grok 4 Fast. The deal follows a similar agreement with the other folks in the space. Automating staid government processes is one of the most promising applications for technology, fueling the battle to be the most popular tool for federal workers. All 4 of the AI companies also each have $200 million contracts with the Defense Department. Sort of interesting that
All
the government,
4?
Yeah. So the government clearly wants an oligopoly here and is like, we're not going to really pick winners, which is crazy because Dario has been very outspoken about the Trump administration. And Elon's obviously been fully in the Trump administration's camp. Google has been a little bit quieter and has leaned left in the past. OpenAI, Sam Altman was kind of stayed out of politics, but then has been at dinners and was at the inauguration. And so you would expect, based on like the news of how close the Foundation Model Lab CEOs are to Trump, like just how many photo ops there have been, how close have they been? You would expect a massive contract for Elon and a very small contract for Anthropic, and yet they all got $200 million equally. It's interesting. Just like they're clearly focused on having balance amongst the AI Foundation.
I want to see the usage in the government broadly and in the DoD.
What are people
Right.
using? I mean,
Everybody gets a $200 million contract. It's unlikely that they're going to be like super evenly leveraged, right?
Yeah, I wonder if they would use them for specific things. I mean, you would hope that, like, you know, they're using Claude Code over there for something, and then they're using ChatGPT for knowledge retrieval and stuff, and then they're using Gemini for the things that Gemini is great. Nano Banana. I guess the government is just, hey, you don't need to come in for DMV photos anymore.
$200 million
Government's gotta
for
take
great
in.
memes.
For gray beams?
Great memes.
Oh, great memes. Yes, exactly. But you would hope that the government's using AI all over the place, and they need an actual contract to make sure that it's provisioned and hosted in the proper way. Anyway, Fin.ai, the #1 AI agent for customer service, #1 in performance benchmarks, #1 in competitive bake-offs, #1 ranking on G2. You can start a free trial. Lulu is chiming in about Rick Rubin. She says, I mean, just look at him. Can't media train this. Austin says, the Beastie Boys, Ed Sheeran, Lady Gaga, Red Hot Chili Peppers, The Strokes. Rick Rubin has worked with all of them.
Why is no
and
one
is
talking
considered-
about Rick Rubin?
Why is no one talking about Rick Rubin? He's worked with all of them and is considered one of the greatest producers of all time. His process to creativity can be described as looking for clues. He has such a unique aesthetic with that massive...
Always has the blue blockers on.
Those are blue blockers?
Yeah.
Oh.
He's very...
I feel like blue blockers
though.
are normally orange, but I guess those are just a dark orange that I'm seeing. Maybe the
Darker
lighting.
shade, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
What else is going on? Scott Alexander.
Your post here. There were
You
some
wanna talk about this?
accusations earlier that somebody was doing a paid post.
The post was deleted, so it was Mike Isaac at the New York Times picked up a device called a brick, which is a little NFC chip that they see. Everyone's seen this on Instagram, right? Where it's supposed to like brick your phone so that you don't be distracted, and so you have the willpower just once to attach this to the back of your phone. It kind of magnetically attaches, and it puts your phone in a do not disturb, don't show me any of the addicting social media apps, turn off everything, let me focus.
Let me cook.
Let me lock in. And so apparently, according to the original post, Mike Isaac picked one up off of an Instagram ad and said he actually loves it. It's helping him write. Of course, he writes for the New York Times. He needs to lock in and write a lot. He can't be distracted. He's also a prolific poster. Can't be caught on the timeline mid-article when he's on deadline.
That's right.
So he posted about it, and
Another poster
accused him of doing a sponsored post without disclosing it.
Undisclosed ad.
And if you know the New York Times' standards and who Mike Isaac is, he's published a book that got turned into a movie or a TV show. Like, he's probably not doing SpawnCon for some D2C, like, you know, electronics company, undisclosed. It's just like so much risk to so little reward. Like the post of him saying like, oh, I got this brick and it's great. Like, it didn't get that many views. It's not like Brick would be like, oh yeah, we're going to sell 10,000 of these things off of this. Let's pay Mike Isaac $100,000 to post this, you know, organic content, this fake content.
He likes technology.
Yeah, he likes
So it's
technology.
okay
People like to post things that they test out. And,
covers
and
consumer tech.
Not everything is SpawnCon.
But I thought your post was hilarious. You said it's time to come clean responding to this allegation. John said, you need to admit that Brick paid you to dunk on this organic post to drive more impressions. This post is brought to you by Brick.
I do think there's something funny where you could potentially run some sort of like anti-astroturfing campaign as a brand where you pay a bunch of influencers to accuse organic UGC of being paid, and it drums up way more attention. And so I was riffing on that. But on this show, we don't do undisclosed partnerships. We do disclosed partnerships,
right.
like our partnership with Addio, Customer Relationship Magic. Addio is the AI native CRM that builds, scales, and grows your company to the next level. Get started for free. When we read an ad, you know we're getting paid for that. You know we're not doing it for free. We're not doing it for the love of the game. We're doing it for
We are doing it for the love of the game.
We do love enterprise SaaS.
Nobody loves SaaS more than us.
That's true. That's true. Let's keep going. There is a lot of stuff going on. This was a really funny post because it gave me a total jump scare. I was talking to Brandon about it earlier. Ben Podgurski, sounds like a podcaster's name, potentially. Ben says, this is correct, but we should take it to the natural conclusion. I guess he was quote tweeting Rune, which we'll get into. But he says, like the Habsburgs of old, the USA should look for synergistic M&A, not through immigration, but with entire polities. In this case, the obvious answer is merge South Korea in as the 51st to 57th states. And I was like,
totally
that's
obvious.
not the obvious answer to me. When people talk about, growing the United States, they talk about Greenland. They talk about Canada, Mexico, Puerto Rico, the Fiji, like the U.S. Virgin Islands. Like there's so many different territories that are like more closely aligned with the United States than just going all the way over to Asia and just picking up South Korea. But Ben makes the argument. He says, merging South Korea in would resolve a wide range of defense, industrial, trade, and demographic crises. South Korea would not have to hem and haw about building their own nuclear shield. They'd be an inviolate part of the United States from the U.S. from day one, would have massive shipbuilding capacity, vastly improving national defense, and U.S. companies could friction-free contribute in the one spot where we genuinely have a technical contribution, small nuclear power systems. The U.S.'s relatively healthy demographics could gradually backfill South Korea's catastrophic demographics. Maybe we could even teach them how to have kids again. The free flow of labor would allow Korean workers to train U.S. workers without insane visa shenanigans. South Korea would be is neither unduly liberal or conservative relative to the United States.
Small couple, I like the thought exercise, couple small potential problems here would place the United States directly on having a shared border with North Korea and be right across the Yellow Sea from China.
It is such a wild move, but he lays out a thoughtful case.
It's a cool idea.
I mean, maybe it's no coincidence that the most respectful TBPN derivative show, inspired show, is from Korea.
That's right.
Those
That's
guys
right.
know
It
how
says
to
something.
do it. They drank
also, I
tap water.
love. Have you ever had bim bim bop?
No, I don't know what that is.
Popular dish in South Korea. It's
Cool.
like rice and protein.
Have you ever been to South Korea?
I have not.
I've never been there. Have you?
Have a.
Have you ever traveled anywhere in the world?
Yeah.
Where?
I've been to Ireland.
Oh, okay. Job's finished. Moving on. Ireland. World traveler.
Luck of the Irish.
So this was all kicked off by a Rune post. He said, correct me if I'm wrong, but it seems like the theme of the Dan Wang book, who we had on the show, and the general elite consensus now is that industrial process is a technology that lives in the heads of people, and that it was a mistake to let so much quote-unquote low-value industry be offshored due to the tacit loss of process capital. TSMC Arizona, which makes the most complex and valuable industrial production in the world, was a massive success. This was a huge surprise to me. I did not expect the TSMC build out. Everyone was saying like it's impossible to airlift TSMC, but they wound up producing 4-nanometer chips at great yields on par with Taiwan merely years after striking ground for the first time. This involved a generous federal subsidy and importing thousands of the great Taiwanese semiconductor experts, despite unions trying to quell Taiwanese immigration and some culture clashes. In the United States, acqui-hires of whole teams with process knowledge in their heads is very common. Zuck acquiring some of the greatest talent from other AI labs for massive numbers is just one example of this. Also seen in the full self-driving wars between Uber and Google, which was interesting because that is, of course, about the Anthony Lewandowski case that ended in a lawsuit that landed Anthony Lewandowski, I believe, in jail for a little bit, but then he was pardoned, and so he got out. But it was more, I feel like it was more than just process knowledge in that case because it was specific patents. And I'm wondering how much of a line you can draw between knowing a specific algorithm, knowing a specific something patentable, and actual process power, process knowledge, but it's certainly an interesting analogy to dig into. So Tesla plus Apple plus Big Pharma acquires industrial process companies all the time. America is very capital rich, able to levy literally hundreds of billions of dollars for machine intelligence capex. We can afford to acquire whole groups of foreign talent for prices that are unheard of to them in their home countries. TLDR, acqui-hiring foreign process knowledge for massive sums should be one of the primary goals of any reindustrialization effort. Special visa categories should be made to scoop up whole teams of Shenzhen's best. The raids on the LG battery plants in Georgia are the exact opposite of what we need. Ability to tolerate new arrivals is a technical edge of American capital to be able to assimilate foreign knowledge into domestic industrial processes at a scale nobody else can countenance. I was hearing a story about how the Manus team relocated to Singapore, and there's a world where they relocate to San Francisco.
Set up in the benchmark office.
I mean,
little satellite office.
There's something there. I don't know how important their process knowledge is, but certainly it worked for TSMC. I don't know how many more of those projects need to be done. Taiwan seems to be in a uniquely precarious position, whereas a lot of the South Korea tensions seem to be a lot lower. Like there's less geopolitical risk in South Korea, so there's less of a we need to move SK Hynix to America. But Tyler, do you have any thoughts on this post? I'm sure you saw it. What'd you think?
Yeah, I think it makes a lot of sense. I think politically it might be hard to do this, but
Yeah.
I've seen a lot of similar arguments just for like normal AI researchers in China.
Yeah.
Like we should basically have some kind of like visa that just like imports them like instantly, and then it's like I assume the salaries over there are not comparable to like MSL
Yeah.
level, like $100 million.
Totally.
So
This is
it
the
makes
real.
a lot of sense.
This is the real AI paper clipping. It's not that you get turned into a paper clip. It's that you get operation paper clipped into a different country, and we need to avoid our best getting paper clipped to a different country, and we need to be potentially paper clipping other national champions. I wonder if there's something to do in AI, in not just AI, but in the process power around solar. Because we've talked to Casey Hanmer about this. It feels like the vast majority of the cheapest solar panels come from China. We don't have a national champion there yet. We're not catching up. But fortunately, we have a guest who might be able to get us up to speed on this. We have Delian Asparuhoff from Founders Fund. He is back from paternity leave. He's in the Restream waiting room, and he will be joining us in the TBPN Ultra Dome in just a minute. Let's bring in Delian Asparuhoff. How you doing?
Here he is.
Good to see you.
What up, boys?
Daddy's home.
Daddy's home, baby.
Oh, there we go.
Got my swag.
I love the hat. How is it being a father of multiple now?
I feel like you blow up your life once, and then after that, you kind of sort of figure it out. Where it's just like, yeah, you got the infrastructure, and that's why God gave you multiple hands. Is
Yes.
one baby per hand.
Yes, but everything's good. Everyone's happy and healthy. Everyone's back to normal.
Oh yeah. I mean,
fantastic.
she's still only like a sort of month old, so
Yeah.
still requires some work. But yeah, in the grand scheme of things, happy, healthy, very grateful that all things pretty smooth.
Yeah, well, once when she gets to 2 months, it's cake.
Put her to work. She can come
yeah.
on. She can come on TBPN. We've
Yeah,
gotten
in your
true.
place.
We've had 3 members of your household live on the show. We need the 4th.
It's true.
Well, actually,
Got
I mean
little
your
Brownie.
brother too. So
That's true. 5.
The Asparuhov clan is
There's
dominating.
got to be. I want at least
appearances.
10 Asparohovs on
Yes.
TBPN by the end of the
Yes.
decade.
Yeah. What are your parents up to next week? We'll get them on.
Yeah.
Really quickly, I want to get a general update on what's going on in your world, but I would be interested to hear your response to this this debate that was going on the timeline yesterday from Rune about TSMC Arizona being a good example of airlifting industrial process from one place to another. He kind of ties it to the acquisition of whole teams at MSL, America being capital rich, being able to actually afford to go and say, here's $100 million offer to some great researcher, come to America potentially. And it gets into obviously there's a whole bunch of immigration stuff going on and cultural stuff, but did you have a reaction to that? Are there other industries where it seems like we need sort of a TSMC Arizona-like project where we're just going to an international company and saying, do what you do over there here?
Yeah, I feel like a lot of the reason that people are discussing this so much on the timeline lately is because of Dan Wang's new book, Breakneck, where he breaks down basically at least his argument is that China is the engineering society, we're the sort of lawyer society, and everything basically sort of stems from there, which I think is probably a little bit I like a lot of parts of his book. That actually particular argument is probably one of my less favorite sort of parts, partially because look. There are things that China is obviously, sort of very good at. I think I was, hearing your last cast talking about mass production of solar panels. They're obviously phenomenal at that type of commodity cost curve, relatively complex, but not deeply complex type of manufacturing, right? They've stepped up from the early days of Shanghai being, sort of toys and knickknacks, et cetera. Obviously now into mass consumer electronics. Unitree is obviously by far the best, sort of humanoid robotics company. And then obviously in solar panels. But there's, I think some limitations to their approach. When I think about it from the aerospace perspective, look, a Falcon 9 rocket landed for the first time a decade ago now. The Chinese basically stole the IP and plans that and clearly have something that is the equivalent to a Falcon 9. And they're still basically doing the early days of Starhopper, which was, back or Grasshopper, which was the SpaceX project in 2013, I want to say. That was just doing the suborbital little hop ups and downs to practice for Falcon 9. And so I do think they have this limitation when it comes to deep systems engineering and requiring some creativity that they miss out on. And I think that's why you've seen them partially succeed in semis, right? They're good at the sort of last generation of semis and sort of reshoring that to China. But I don't think you've really seen any progress on them, sort of domesticating cutting edge, sort of semis. TSMC Arizona, is at least a very subscale version, of being able to do actually some amount of cutting edge domestically. And I do think it, sort of shows that there's just some breakdowns in Dan Wang's argument where we are able to import that type of I forget what he calls it, industrial process or process knowledge, in the United States and even develop it ourselves, right? The other area that obviously we do quite well on, it's not the perfect company, but look, the 99% of commercial airliners in the world are still developed by the West, right? Boeing and Airbus and continue to be, and it's not obvious that China has really been able to displace that. The only other areas that I think about actively that you need to be, sort of reshored. Some amount of it is hey, if we want to, sort of compete against China and Taiwan, it is going to be almost certainly a mass scale production, sort of game more so than anything else. And so when you think about mass scale drone manufacturing, mass scale metal cutting, mass scale fighter jet production, that's something that we're obviously behind on. Even the munitions, right? Ukraine has shown that artillery is back to being relevant again. It was not relevant at all in any of the Middle East conflicts, but now with continuous internet coverage and continuous basically spy satellites, you can actually justify basically just anytime that your enemy makes a move, you just artillery shell the crap out of them, and that's actually back to being sort of relevant on the battlefield. And they are far better. They have these lights off artillery shell production facilities that basically just are 24/7 fully roboticized, produce way more than the United States can. And so I don't know if those are going to be necessarily like the equivalent of TSMC, where you're like taking somebody's pre-existing industry and like dropping it here, and that like there's not an obvious place to go import from, basically, for that type of stuff. So I think we kind of solve that on our own. And obviously, Founders Fund, we're making some investments, in that space. Obviously,
Isn't it true too that in China, like yes, there's flagship lights out factories that are truly cutting edge, the kind of thing we just don't really have here in the United States, but yet still the vast majority of manufacturing in China is just a lot of labor, like, assembling cheap components?
It shifted. I think that's like a sort of decade out or a decade old sort of sort of thinking, where it's like, yeah, the reason that China won for a long time was because of just like the labor arb and cheap cost of labor. When you talk to people,
but I'm just saying, like, with the true, like, we can't buy the, like, when you talk about China's advantage of just being able to produce overwhelming mass, right, across every different sector, there's certain key areas where they are just light years ahead, and then they're still getting this massive benefit of even the components that get made that go to the lights out factory to be assembled, but with robotics. Like, there's
I mean, when I think about like their advantages in like drone manufacturing, it's mostly due to automated facilities, right? Like, it's not because they like, have a bunch of like, sort of mass assembly, super precise, small hand, sort of laborers or something like that. It actually is because when you think about like the PCB boards, largely basically fully automated, the like, propellers that they make, largely fully automated, the battery lines, largely fully automated. And so, yeah, I just like, when I think about like the edge that they have in drones, yeah, there's maybe some amount that's like, sort of this like assembly edge, but like I'd put that at like 5 to 10% of the edge. Like 90% of the edge is that they like have such deep process knowledge across all these individual, like different, basically like subcomponent sectors, and a lot of those
co-location
are fully. Say again?
Co-location, effectively.
Yeah, and the co-location is just sort of wild, right? And this is also sometimes the problem with like this stuff in America when we like try and re-import it. It's like, the CHIPS Act, one of the biggest battles was like the size of funding required support from a broad set of senators and congressmen, but then by default they want sort of jobs everywhere, and so it's been more difficult to fully sort of centralize all of the like reshoring of semis in the United States into a sort of single location. Like Arizona's definitely sort of been impressive, but like ideally it's not just the like fab. At some point you want to do like lithography there and a bunch of other parts of semis centralized there. But like in the United States, we actually kind of have a bit of a chips hub, obviously still some amount in Silicon Valley. Austin's become like a sort of really big area. Ideally those would all be in sort of the same place rather than so spread out. And so it is just harder, given that we're not like China, that's willing to sort of like put their finger on a scale to a single city and just be like, you are going to become like the guitar producing city and everything is going to be sort of based there. We don't do that.
Need a new guitar executive order.
It does feel like we're starting to do that with the neo clouds, with some of the big data center buildouts, Abilene, Texas. Like we're marshaling capital,
but that's still led by individual deal makers going and talking to these local governments and figuring out, can we do this here? Okay, no, I'm going to go across the state line over here. I'll do it over here. Sure, they're chasing.
Yeah, we're just much less top-down coordinated. But like at the same time, I think you're starting to see like the faults and the breaks in that system, in China. And Dan Wing talks about this sort of as well, where it's like, look, they clearly still excel in certain areas, but they've also like, I mean, like think about it even over the course of the time that I've been at Founders Fund. In 2021, like the number of unicorns being minted in China was starting to approach the United States, and there's like some real risk and fear that it was going to supersede. Now, 4.5 years later, the Chinese venture capital ecosystem is effectively, totally negligible. And so, I do think that they've, done a decent job on like, sort of prioritizing the industries that matter the most. But also their like capital markets are like, sort of way worse than they were, sort of 4.5 years ago. They have reimported a bunch of, sort of Chinese nationals from the United States back as scientists into China, pretty good. But they've also like lost, something on the order of, I forget what the number was, but like 25,000 Chinese millionaires like are, exporting their capital.
They
out.
lost
So
the
it's-
Manus team. The Manus team's over in Singapore now. So they might be working out of the benchmark office soon.
Yeah.
never
Well,
know.
speaking of benchmark, I thought it was interesting. Actually, Bill Gurley posted earlier, "Game recognized game," and it was a quote from the CEO of Xiaomi, who said, "We bought 3 Tesla Model Ys for disassembly and research inside Xiaomi earlier this year. What a great vehicle!" And of course, they're announcing like effectively a copycat, but it's insane to just say
game recognized game. It's game copies game.
Yeah, it's saying the quiet part out loud is wild, but
Yeah, recognizing
I think
the
also,
IP.
by the way, since I was last on was when I have been poking the benchmark bear literally basically like since like a week or two after joining Founders Fund. And I remember early on I got a call from like one of the partners at FF being like, hey, like look, just so you know, you're definitely making some enemies over there. And I was like, okay. And then they were like, but I wouldn't necessarily like, it doesn't feel right to tell you to like take these things down because like at the end of the day we are Founders Fund and you are critiquing them for firing founders, and that is our whole ethos. So just know that what you're doing is definitely creating enemies and you guys are creating risk. So anyways, I've been poking the bear for like 5.5 years. And then it was just so glorious to have like finally an official response from Teton. And it was just like, it was an alley-oop. It was the perfect response. It was like, how dare you not basically like, control, sort of a company's choice and, sort of, capital provider. Like, why are you letting them take Chinese capital? And I was like, oh my God, this is perfect. This is like the exact, like, you don't even realize how wrong you are because you don't even realize that what you're saying is, why aren't you as a venture investor telling the founder to run their fucking company? And that's your critique. And I remember reading it, and I was technically supposed to be on this like 1 week like Twitter or whatever, like, detox. But then like,
you're on Twitter being like, I'm supposed to be on a detox right now, but I'm about to go on a bender.
I know, but I was like, I got like 5 texts from friends being like, how have you not responded to this yet? And I read it and I was like, oh my God, yeah, fuck this detox, bro. Like, definitely fucking going in. And it was just like, it is, I think, either my top or second best day on Twitter in terms of joy provided for me. Like true, like existential, like identity level, like as much as like a child's birth. You know what I mean? Like, that is a level of joy.
True, zero user regretted seconds. Like the least regret of.
You would compare it to holding your daughter.
It is, yeah, I think roughly equivalent.
No.
The only other day that I've had that was that good was the day after the FTX blow up, and I was the first one to really find and screenshot the Sequoia blog post about him playing League of Legends and getting that out. And it was just that was incredible. It was like I got to break news. I got to like poke fun at a competitor. I forced them to like have a response to all their LPs about it. They had to like take down that blog post. It was just like, that was like
fired.
A truly.
Weren't you also better than SBF at League of Legends?
Okay, I mean, like the AOC is better than at like League of Legends. So like the bar is very low. I just like,
but at least you gotta respect some of the highly convicted investments in Anthropic, Robinhood. He was a gambler, but
Dude, he was a good gambler. I mean, like, he just, played the line a little too hard. But, like, there's a world where, like, I forget who was telling me this. It was somebody that was basically responsible for, like, brokering the, like, FTX, like, bankruptcy, et cetera. So they're, like, a, Wall Street, whatever, sort of type. And they basically were like, yeah, like, if he had just lasted another, like, 6 months, the book, like, would have been totally fine. He wouldn't have got liquidated. And today, if he just held these investments that he made from, like, back then, he would be richer than Elon. Like, he would actually just be the richest person on the planet.
Wait, what?
And so it's wild to think that he was, like, on a knife's edge.
Richer than Elon. I don't. How is
crazy.
he putting up?
I haven't seen that actual number, but I mean, I guess it makes sense with like the various positions he had. Yeah.
I think it was like assuming that FTX continued to go, et cetera.
And Solana.
Like best possible scenario.
There were like, I mean, again, like some of those, moves were just like it's like the Anthropic position. I forget. It's like now like $25 billion.
I mean,
like,
the guy was insane. Yeah, I don't know if you remember, but he went on Tyler Cowen's show. Conversation with Tyler, and Tyler asks him, would you flip a coin where there was a 50% chance of humanity being completely wiped out or 50% chance that you double the prosperity of humanity, but it's 51-49, the good outcome? And he was like, I would flip it 100 times in a row. And it's like, that's insane. Like, that's not how these things work. But he was like, the expected value is positive, so I must take the EV positive bet. And it's like, no, please do not flip that coin. Like, you're going to wipe us all out. With like 99%.
The best part of SBF having to go to jail is Dustin Moskovitz finally shutting the fuck up about EA. Thank God. We can stop talking about two only net EV positive things.
Yeah, it's wild. Well, speaking of net EV positive things, is it no longer net EV positive to invest in a company that's growing revenue triple, double? Because I have a lot of friends that have been doing that. They were saying, I'm about to IPO my company, but now they're thinking of shutting down because according to the best venture capitalists,
Dellion's a fan of 0.0000000,000x.
But yes, I want your reaction to the state of the software markets. It's sort of an Ev take a little.
Have you done a pure SaaS deal this year?
I did just do like basically pure vertical AI SaaS
Let's
C
go.
stage.
Oh,
Even me,
he couldn't resist. He had to do one. He had to do
Can't
one.
help myself.
Vertical SaaS,
Yes,
underrated,
let's go.
criminally underrated.
That's
He
paying an
literally
entire
talked to
brand.
every VC. It's like you just go invest in the foundation model layer, go invest in hard tech. Leave the vertical SaaS for me.
It's great.
Yeah,
But yeah,
you know,
overall thoughts on the triple, double being like out of date with how fast the foundation model companies are growing. I had this interesting thought that it's like you could be running a janitorial company, and if you have a foundation model as a client and they're growing 10x, you're going to be cleaning 10 times as many toilets. Your revenue is going to be 10xing because they're 10xing. And if you just like are a barnacle on the side of the massive whale, you're going to see massive growth. And I wonder if like that, like what that means, because
We're
like,
investing in the barnacle economy.
the barnacle economy. But in general, like, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think about this stuff all the time from like the sort of space perspective too, where like you can get diluted into this world where it's like the space economy is growing, but if it's only a bunch of other space startups like trading revenue back and forth, you can like prop that up for like quite some time, trading a dollar back and forth. But at some point, it needs to connect into like the rest of the ecosystem, right? And so. I think there was some memes and jokes going around sort of yesterday about the like Nvidia, Oracle, OpenAI, whatever 100 billion investment, et cetera, and it's literally just the same dollar, effectively going sort of in circles over and over again.
Yes.
And that can sort of work, but like that can also blow up. And I think we talked about this in maybe even in the last interview. It's like you have just this crazy dynamic where the percent of GDP being invested in this category is like the equivalent of like at the railroad bubble, et cetera. Yeah. But a lot of the companies that are doing this have like these cash flows from other very large businesses that are driving towards this, right? Zuckerberg, I think, gave the quote where he's like, look, I would prefer to like, waste hundreds of billions of dollars.
Misspend a couple $100 billion.
Yeah, spend a couple $100 billion rather than lose the machine god race. And so it's just like the level of it's like nothing we've ever seen before in terms of like the super cycle of sort of capital going into this. Maybe it has the ROI, maybe it doesn't. When I think about it from like the investor perspective, I mostly think about it from twofold, which is like how you should analyze any business, which is basically like quality of revenue and like in terms of like durability of that revenue, and then the competition, e.g. the margins, sort of on that revenue. And so I'll maybe provide like one example that I think is very strong and one that I think is like a little weaker. You guys have had sort of Melissa, John Ludwig, sort of wife on for Cybernetic Labs. I think of that as a great example where she has really great revenue growth. And I believe it to be very durable in that most of her revenue growth is coming from things that are totally decoupled from the like insanity of like, NVIDIA, OpenAI, et cetera, circles. Like it literally is janitorial companies, right? Effectively HVAC, plumbers, et cetera. Those people's revenue, their growth, et cetera, like is completely like economically decoupled. And so in some ways, then Melissa's revenue is completely economically decoupled from the entire AI hype wave. And so when I think about like, oh, okay, let's say, imagine a world where all of a sudden, like, the Mag 7 decide to like, reduce deployment into data centers and like foundation model training by 100x, sort of next year. Which companies are affected by that? Okay, well, like CoreWeave, I imagine is like going to be affected by that. Oracle definitely going to be affected by that. OpenAI, Anthropic, definitely going to be sort of affected by that.
Well, yeah, you look at how many companies are now indexed to OpenAI, right? You have Broadcom, Oracle, SoftBank, CoreWeave. Like there's a
lot of them. Yeah,
a lot of them.
And I think as an investor, you have to take a little bit of like a bifurcated strategy where it's like, I think it's a generational index. And this is, if there's one thing that I admire about Peter the most is he just does such a great job of, even though he has lots of biases, particular, preferences, et cetera, on one sector, another, founder, another, he's very willing to I feel like, soberly analyze the just like broad macro world and identify, hey, even if like I don't love, whatever boring SaaS software, et cetera, or like the AI stuff, may not be real, still be willing to like analyze it from a purely investment perspective and like take it on. And obviously we've done decent sort of checks into this field versus like I literally like find my biases so strong that I can't even motivate myself to even spend time on it to like analyze it as an investor. So that's where I think about the sort of durability perspective, and then there's like the margin sort of perspective, which is like how much competition is there, right? You're seeing obviously in these foundation models where just like the token cost continues to go down, the margin never seems to really be improving, and a part of it is like there's a bunch of companies that in capital that's going into this, and some of the like let's say like AI for whatever coding has maybe a bit of a similar dynamic where it is like a bunch of companies that are working on it, the foundation models working on it, et cetera. I don't think there's going to be like 15 AI for plumber, sort of companies, right? And so this is where Melissa both has this like great durability and great margins. And so I think you have to take this kind of bifurcated approach as an investor, which is both like invest into the like index effectively. Now, our approach has generally been invest mostly into the thing driving the index, e.g., OpenAI. And then your like, sort of counter strategy is invest in things that are totally decoupled from the index and like super far away. And then basically like nothing, that much in like the, sort of messy middle in between. And to go back to like the, whatever, 332 or whatever it was, I do think that in both categories, I do think there's some merit to it where it's like the growth rates and EV growth in these companies just do look very fundamentally different, and the bar is definitely higher. It's just been like, I admit, like it's been very remarkable to watch Melissa and her company grow at a rate that just like, if you had told me, right to distribution of where you think Melissa's revenue growth is going to be like when she like started the company, this is in like the 99th percentile, and I think it just speaks to how much of a wave this can be. And I think Peter talks about this where it's like the internet wave happened, but then it still took like 20 years to get the internet integrated into the rest of the economy. I think you're going to see the same thing, sort of here where like there might be not as bad of like an AI bubble crash, but the like implementation period still might be more accelerated because just generally society is moving faster, but it may take 10 years. And it's companies like Melissa that are getting it integrated into like the broader society.
Have you seen any companies where they've done a good job? They're still in founder mode. They've grown like a base of business that then when the AI story came, they could actually act on that in a way that it wasn't like, they're a public company and they need to go through this massive transformation of how they bill, but they can just add AI on top, and then they're actually growing new quality revenue. Are you feeling that at all? What are you pointing to?
Let me figure this out. Sorry, I'm having to.
Oh, yes. Ramp.
Okay, there we go.
There you go.
Yes.
There we go.
Ramp.com. There you go.
Ramp.com. Great company that has done a great job of like, look, they obviously like were growing very well before any of the the AI boom.
Yep.
But like I just remember this very particular. I think they've announced this now, so I'm not like revealing anything, right? They have their like AI agent basically product. Yeah. But I just remember the board meeting where Kareem and crew presented like the vision for it, and I was like, oh, this is like what a very competent but like larger startup that is still fast moving, knows how to adopt things, does in this world, where it's basically like, look, we have a bunch of people that obviously use what is a very like beautiful interface that automates a lot of like finance work, but it still requires people to go in, set up these rules engines, do some amount of tagging, etc. We're just going to like basically start to offer for some of our beta customers that are going to try this out. We're just going to like effectively screen record what they're doing and start training AIs on that. And it's like I just can't imagine like both if you're a net new company being like, I'm going to make AI agents for the CFO suite. It's like, well, but there's like a whole set of things you have to do. You have to have like the corporate card. You have to have travel expenses. You have to have this expense policy, accounting, integrations into the ERPs, integrations into like their tax. It's like all these systems that you need to build that are like more Web 2.0 or whatever, sort of systems.
Yep.
And only when you have that and you have a ton of usage on it, like, can you then actually start to train the like AI agents on top of that usage, right? And so I've admired that a lot in Ramp. And so that's probably the one portfolio company that I've seen it the strongest in. And then the second is this other portfolio company of mine, Sword Health, that had been doing this like basically, AI sort of physical, sort of therapist, but most of it was that basically you had these like sensors that were strapped on your body. You would go through your physical therapy routine, and then a like PT would basically then review your movement data set, et cetera, and like message back and forth with you and adjust it. That was a very obvious area where like they literally had years and years of training data sets on how their digital PTs were basically interfacing with patients. They basically like significantly upped the ratio. I forget the exact number, but like my guess would be it was something on the order of like, I remember when the company started, it was like 12 patients per PT. I remember by like 2022 it was like 1 to 100, and I think now it's something on the order of like 1 to 1,000. And it is largely like the like AI sort of wave that has enabled them to do that, and especially because it's like this text back and forth literally with like a sort of physical therapist. But again, if you were starting from scratch, being like, I'm going to make AI agents for physical therapy, it's like kind of hard to do like just that. The physical sensors, the distribution with like Fortune 500s, health systems, et cetera.
Yeah, we had a company on, I think a couple days ago called Filevine that raised $400 million. They were, for 10 years, creating just workflows for different law firms. SaaS for law firms. They have all the workflows, time tracking, conflict checks, et cetera, document storage. Now they can just add AI in a bunch of different places. And maybe they don't have their own foundation model, but like maybe Claude or OpenAI models become good enough, right?
Yeah. Give us an update on space, defense tech, stuff that's happening in DC. It seems like there's a ton of deals there, but they're 2 orders of magnitude smaller than the AI. Sometimes it's like $1 billion deal for Palantir in the UK, and people are like, I just heard about $100 billion deal over here from NVIDIA, but there's some amazing stuff happening. What's been top of mind for you in space or defense or DC generally?
Yeah, I mean, the sort of big macro story for the next 5 days is it seems like we're very likely headed towards a sort of government shutdown. I think we've talked about this in some of the prior sort of appearances. Yeah, there's gonna be a lot of people furloughed. RIP. Yeah. We've talked about this in prior. I think.
Can you imagine if we had a precedent like that in the private markets, where like companies just routinely we're out of cash. We're talking with the board, but
everyone's furloughed.
Everyone's furloughed. Just probably it'll be like 5 days, maybe like 40 days. Whatever.
Imagine it was.
By the way, imagine
specific,
Xi Jinping coming out and be like, "Oh yeah, sorry, like we couldn't with my finance minister agree on a budget, and so we're shutting down the CCP for 2 months." It's just like, it's so funny to me that they so badly want to usurp America, and our system still has us regularly shutting down for extended periods of time, unable to agree on the most basic facts of what should we be even prioritizing and allocating towards. And we still kick their ass. We have the best capital markets. We have the best nation, the best freedom, the best fucking technology in almost every single area.
If you're a career politician, it must feel so good to shut the government down for...
Oh my god! What I feel bad is now that we're so Varda so deeply integrated in all these government programs. There's a lot of people that just end up having to continue to do their job, but they just don't get paychecks. And it's and some of these people are friends of mine now that have worked in technology and are over there. And it's you just kind of have to make sure that you have savings because rent still keeps going. Mm-hmm. You're kind of still expected to work, but you literally just don't get paychecks. And at some point you get some amount of back pay. Wow. But yeah, the reason we're marching towards it is look, we've gotten into this world where I think it's something 4 of the last 20 years we've actually passed our budget on time. So the fiscal year for the government basically ends, basically end of September every year. Yep. We effectively, for many of the last 20 years, we never end up, basically actually figuring out what the budget should be. So we go into these continuing resolutions. But when you're in that state and you're doing everything so last minute, it means much more regularly we have shutdowns. So shutdowns are happening, sort of more often. And so this year it's the sort of Dems and Republicans going back and forth on basically how much should be based just off the big beautiful bill. How much should the sort of Dems have to sort of fold on some of their asks around. A lot of it is healthcare spending. Basically related. Mm-hmm. And at least right now, the tone in DC is there isn't an obvious going to be a path forward over the next week or so. And then Speaker Johnson isn't even necessarily releasing a schedule on when he's going to call everybody back to even sort of fix it. So it's an interesting place where CRs and shutdowns generally favor incumbents, right? And so, but what's interesting though this year is now a bunch of the net new tech companies are kind of the incumbents, right? And so, if you were Anduril in 18, government shutdown pretty painful. If you're Anduril in 2025, yeah, you'd prefer for budgets to keep going, but you can actually probably even continue to beat plan, et cetera, even with sort of government shutdown. And so mostly what it makes it painful for is some of the next gen companies that have been starting in the last year or two really sort of painful. So at least as somebody that's closer to an incumbent now rather than a 2-year-old company, I don't mind the government shutdown sort of that much. If anything, it kind of gives me more room to get away from some of the sort of seed Series A, Series B companies. So Mr. Politician, shut down away, and we'll keep flying capsules.
It's also, if the government shuts down, then if it restarts, it'd be a bullish catalyst. Send us to new all-time highs. Right?
Close us out with a white pill. What's the best new development happening in defense tech, space? Any positive news aside from the government stuff? The shutdown's kind of disappointing.
Will you be buying the Unitree IPO?
Yes.
That's depressing.
Here's what's depressing is it's going out at $7 billion. What does that say? If they're the leader, yeah. and the market says this is a $7 billion company, and we have companies that are worth $40 billion. If you look at Tesla, what premium does Optimus give to Tesla? We're clearly valuing the potential of humanoids more than at least the Hong Kong Stock Exchange.
This is kind of related to how I think you could use Unitree for peace, where if I were to provide sort of the analogy, what Apple is to Foxconn, you ideally need some US company to be to Unitree, where it's like both the US government and the CCP are not happy with the Apple Foxconn relationship, right? The US government is not happy that Apple does so much of its manufacturing with our primary adversary and would like them to ideally push to relocate more of that to more allied nations like, Vietnam, India, et cetera, which they're starting to do, and do more of that in the United States. The CCP is not particularly happy that Foxconn puts in all this work, technology, process, et cetera, ships out these iPhones, and then that just ships a ton of profit dollars over to the largest company that's owned by their adversary. And so both sides are super unhappy with the relationship, and yet the relationship has now persisted for like over 20 plus years, right? And so I think there's the downside case of Unitree succeeds, a lot in China and just makes like humanoid, soldiers that like end up, invading Taiwan. That's like the downside scenario. The upside scenario is Unitree becomes a contract manufacturer, but like an American company has way better foundation model, AI controls, sort of robot, whatever operating system and design, and uses Unitree basically as like the manufacturer. And then you basically get into this like unhappy wedding on both sides in a way that actually makes it even less likely that basically China actually had to
only downside is the sci-fi scenario where there's a backdoor into the millions of humanoids that get deployed into the U.S. and
I
mean,
but my iPhone's not going to get up at night and stab me in the chest.
I mean, it could explode, and it's in your fucking. Look,
could
you thought the Hamas fucking
pagers.
Pagers were bad. Let me fucking tell you, if there's like a little bomb in each of these, and like you can explode like just government officials, could be tough.
Okay, I asked for a white pill. That was
and I got a black pill.
Close, but we'll get you next time, Delian. Thank you so much for hopping on, taking
Great
the time.
to see you.
Congratulations.
Congrats on the little
family.
one.
We
Give
will
our
talk
best
to
to
you
the family.
soon. And
Later, boys.
You heard him talk about 8 Sleep. You can enjoy an 8 Sleep if you go to 8sleep.com. Get a Pod 5, a 5-year warranty, 30-night risk-free trial, free returns, free shipping.
How did we do last night, John?
I got cooked. I got a
cooked.
78.
I got a 76.
I got a 73, so you beat me.
Okay.
I got a 73.
Okay. There we go. I'm back.
Our next guest is from Flock Safety, a Founders Fund portfolio company, actually. We have Garrett Langley. I'm very excited to bring him in from the Reese Room waiting room. Garrett, how are you doing?
What's happening?
I'll let you take the intro.
Welcome to the show.
Good. How are you?
Doing great. We've been super excited to have you on. First time. Why don't you give a quick introduction for anybody that's been living under a rock?
Yeah, or hiding under a rock, maybe.
Hiding.
Garrett Langley started a company called Flock Safety with a couple friends 8 years ago, and we catch bad guys. We will help local law enforcement make just around 700,000 arrests across the country this year. All violent, nonviolent crimes.
What was the what was the time to first arrest?
Yeah, just under 60 days. So
60
we were
days.
in YC, and it was horrible because we had built this product. We had a couple neighborhoods using it, and we were like, demo day is going to be a bust. Because we built a camera, but like, what else? And I kid you not, the week before, this guy broke into someone's home, stole a nice road bike, DeKalb County, Georgia, made the arrest. And so we went on demo day. We had one slide, and it was his mugshot. And we were like, we build cameras that do this. Please invest.
Wow. You already had the mugshot. Yeah. Better than we got 2,000 MRR.
MRR,
yeah. Real world results. That's great. And feels more critical than ever with everything going on in the world. What have you guys been up to lately?
Yeah, I mean, so we're live in just over 6,000 cities now. So
Wow.
Pretty well deployed in building a lot. So we got into the drone business earlier this year, kind of at the end of last year, earlier this year. We've now got drones flying all over the country. Just kind of launched that also for the private sector. So it might surprise you that private enterprise spends north of $30 billion a year on unarmed guards.
Wow.
I think drones are a pretty good alternative. They're cheaper, they're more reliable. And so now, if you're...
And
one of our
unarmed
private
guards
sector
are
customers,
effectively just providing a deterrence, right? They're not meant to engage, but they're
They
just
will
trying to
call
show that
911.
that you're not alone, basically, right? And so drone can play a similar role and potentially even a better role if it can follow a bad actor or something along those lines.
Yeah, no, exactly. So you think about a retail example, which if you're in the Bay Area, this happens a lot. Car gets stolen. They drive it to a Home Depot, to a Target. we know that car is stolen. Today, we just notify 911, and depending on what city you're in, a couple minutes or 20, 30 minutes later, 911 shows up. Now with our drone, that drone can get automatically dispatched off a rooftop, out of a box, completely remotely, kind of teleoperated. You've now got live video streaming to local law enforcement inside their vehicle. Wow. This is the vehicle. This is the person. They're going into the store. They're leaving the store, whatever it may be. And so it's kind of, the way to think about it is we just treat drones like a camera that can fly. So we're pretty good at building cameras. And now these cameras can fly and chase bad guys.
Can you give me some timelines on when the average American would be seeing just drones flying around? What scale we're going to see that? Are you bullish or excited about humanoid robots or wheeled robots? We've seen what Starship Technologies has done. There's a whole bunch of companies that are putting more like simpler robots on the ground. Like what's the actual path and what kind of timelines are you kind of operating against?
So, I mean, the good news is that these drones fly high. So we fly 400 feet up in the air.
Okay.
So if you're not looking up, you're not going to hear it. You're not going to see it.
Wow.
The other thing is our drones can cover up to probably 30 square miles effectively.
Yeah.
And so the sheer number of drones you need actually isn't that many.
Sure.
So if I think about a county near me, it's the largest county in Georgia. I think it's just over 500 square miles. They're going to get 20 drones to cover the entire county.
Wow.
And that's a couple million people. Like you're never going to see these things.
So you would probably wind up either partnering or building yourself, like something that looks kind of like a cell phone tower, has charging infrastructure. Maybe there's a human that goes out there and fixes parts if there's problems.
Does it even need to look like that, or can you just put it on a roof of like a Walmart?
Put it on a roof.
Even better. Fire department. Fire departments are legally required to be deployed there's a federal regulation of the density of fire departments, which makes them a perfect place to also put drones.
Sure.
So you put them on top of a fire department.
Mm-hmm.
They're fully autonomous. They live up there. It's got HVAC. It's a pretty cozy place to live as a drone.
Yep.
And then someone clicks a button from a computer, just like you guys are on.
Yep.
Drone flies. And then it can track the car, locks in, tracks the car, the human. It's locked in. You can do multiple drones to one operator. So even in a county like the one I'm describing with 20 drones, they probably need 3 or 4 operators at all times.
Mm-hmm.
But like they're covering 500 square miles, like insane coverage.
Yeah, talk to me about some of the other robots, robotic dogs, four-wheeled robots, humanoid robots. Like when does this?
Well, and before that, like talk about autonomy timelines, because if you're flying 400 feet in the air, at what point? Like there's not a lot else going on up there. I imagine you could build these to be pretty fully autonomous pretty fast.
Yeah, I mean the autonomy is already there. The issue is the FAA regulation. It's like right now we are legally required to have a human click a button that says launch drone.
Yeah.
And then they need to have a Part 107 license that says they can fly. And they're
like an actual game. That's a pilot's license.
It's an easier version. It's maybe 20 or 30 hours of studying, which
specifically
is good
for commercial drones.
Yeah, and I think it's good, but the autonomy is there. And the FAA has done a great job over the last few years of kind of like trying to catch up. They were a little slow for a while. They're catching up now. I mean, they're making better decisions. Like they're now allowing us to fly multiple drones with one operator. It used to be it had to be 1-to-1. It used to be you had to be able to see the drone. Now you don't have to be able to see the drone. So in the case of that big county, that person sitting downtown, they're flying a drone 50 miles away.
Yeah.
And I think that makes a lot of sense. So the autonomy is there. It can autonomously track the car, stick to it, so you can avoid a high-speed pursuit. But the FAA is going to make sure that it's safe. And I agree. Like safety is the most important feature we sell.
Yeah. How much of
it's a big thing.
It feels like high-speed chases are like definitely a bug, not a feature, right? Because it creates an entirely new danger, right? Of hey, we've got one guy that stole a car. Let's get 6 cops
driving super
at 100
fast,
miles an hour,
super fast.
What can go wrong?
Yeah,
it's probably thrilling though.
Yeah, I think it's like probably one of the highlights of the job. If you're like an adrenaline junkie, because like you're driving 90 miles an hour trying to like chase someone.
Yeah.
No, it's definitely a bug, and I think most elected officials would agree as they've started to ban it, which creates all types of new conflicts. So I think high-speed pursuits are a really good one. I think the other thing that we've been surprised by is the reduction in service calls, and let me try to expand on that.
Please.
When you call 911, the average response time might be 30 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
And a part of the problem is it's just slow to drive. So we'll get there faster because of that, because we don't have to wait in traffic. The other issue is that a lot of the times you'll call 911 and say, hey, these two guys are in a street fight. And then 20 minutes later, those guys are gone. We still had to send an officer. They still had to look around. Maybe they go into the gas station and grab a Gatorade because they're thirsty. Mm-hmm. And all of a sudden, like, we've wasted hours of this officer's day. So one of the beautiful parts of the drone is actually it gets there faster, and it can also remove that call for service from the backlog so that for actual critical incidents, we get humans there faster as well. I think the other one that I'm pretty excited about is we have a number of colleges that we work with that are using drones to help escort females at night back home. Mm-hmm. So you can call 911 and be like, hey, I don't feel safe. Like, it's really dark. I just left this party. And you don't feel great, I think, as like a 19-year-old maybe doing that, because you're now going to get in the back of a patrol car. Yeah. Now, in a couple of colleges we work with, they're pushing this out. Like, hey, you can always call 911 and a police drone will escort you home. Whoa. And we'll have a video, we'll have eyes on you. Yeah. So that if anything starts to look suspicious, like, we're on top of it. And I think there's just a ton of use cases that we're just uncovering now to make drones just a more bigger part of our daily life.
If you run the like economic calculation on the 30 square miles for one drone, and there's cost to service that and batteries, versus do some sort of deal where every stoplight has a camera on it and you have sort of coverage, 360 cameras on every single corner. Is there an economic calculation here that makes sense where the drone's more efficient, or is it just more flexible? Like, what are all the trade-offs that a city or you think of?
Yeah. So the way we think about it is there's a certain cost per citizen mm-hmm. that a city is comfortable paying to eliminate crime. Mm-hmm. And we do think you can eliminate it. Like, you can't eliminate emotional crime, like crimes of hate, crimes mm-hmm. of passion, but the capitalistic crime. Like, there was a really funny No Jumper podcast a couple weeks ago where the guy was like, those effing flockers, they're making it too hard to commit crime in San Francisco. And I'm like, that's the goal. Because like that guy knows
on a podcast,
he's super smart.
On a podcast.
Wow, he called you flockers. That's hilarious.
It's brutal.
That's so
yeah. It's just about like it's about making it so that
you've arrived.
Somebody could still do it, but it's not economically viable.
Random podcast. That's amazing.
Yes,
that's product market fit. Getting called out on No Jumper for stopping crime.
Stopping crime. So when we look at that though, and like, you know, the probably the most deployed city we have is spending about $22 a citizen per year with Flock. I think that's pretty reasonable. That's not that much money. It's a lot for that city, but I mean, as an individual, I believe that city is going to solve every single crime that happens. I don't think that's too much of a burden. But I do think it's about, you think about building a cake. You got to have different layers. You don't want just all cake, all icing. You want cameras that fly. You also need software. You need trailers because there's more of a deterrence. So I don't think it's a one size fits all, but for us right now, we kind of see that deployments where you're going to cover your perimeter with cameras that track cars. You're going to have kind of PTZs, pan-tilt zooms for your major intersections, and they're going to use drones to kind of cover the whole city or county as an overlay.
How do you
back to humanoids? Sorry.
Well, yeah.
I know we're gonna get there.
I really want to know, because cost per citizen is probably really expensive. We're seeing stuff from Unitree. There's companies in America. Optimus is far away. Just give me your humanoid take. Sorry.
So my humanoid take is like, as it stands today, they're just way too expensive. Mm-hmm. So if you think about like an average retailer, some of them make a lot of money, right? Mm-hmm. If you think about like a big box retailer, they might generate a couple million in EBITDA per location. But then you kind of go down market to, you know, an Ulta, a Sephora, a Dollar General, and their box profit's just like not very high. They have a lot of locations, but their individual stores are actually not very profitable. They can't spend more than a couple $1,000s a year per store in safety. I don't see a world where either humanoids or dogs work there, and we're seeing that unfold as well, where bigger footprint locations just have both more assets and more dollars. In my conversations with retailers in particular, the kind of two-wheeled approaches have been laughed off. They get stuck in a corner. They get kicked over. The dogs are seeing more efficacy. Mm-hmm. And I got to imagine like a biped, like humanoid is going to be the most effective, because that just sounds really scary.
Yeah.
Well, now
and you see those
some
videos,
of them you can't kick them over.
They come
right back up. It's crazy.
talk about a scary situation. You're trying to rob a place, you try to kick it over, and it just stands back up and just looking at you, just like, what next?
There's going to be like,
sounds pretty good.
dark
Put
web
the
tutorials.
shampoo down.
Yeah, dark web tutorials
Yeah.
of like how to get it
Get
to
around
stop.
it. Yeah.
You know, like
All of a
Yeah.
sudden, the bippers bring like
It's so sci-fi.
EMF.
It's like you have to cut these
Jammers,
two cables
yeah.
on the back, and
It's gonna be wild. Sorry, Jordy. You had another.
yeah,
section
I was
about-
just curious about just like how you think about product prioritization, because I imagine when you get in working with these cities and police departments and they start using your products and getting value out of them, they just start coming to you with like more problems, both like hardware, software. But it feels like the drone opportunity is big enough that at some, it's probably hard to that you have too many opportunities than you could probably pursue all at once.
Yeah, I mean, I think we took the company from 1 SKU to 8 SKUs in the last 12 months that all have clear line of sight to 9 figures of ARR.
Great.
Yeah, I agree. And like the
Congratulations.
pipeline, the pipeline is there. The ARR is growth. Like, it's kind of wild. This will be our first quarter, I think, where like our core business like won't be the biggest product line, which is kind of weird. I think that's a good thing for us, because we're not decelerating on that side. It's just other products are really attractive. But I think it is, you're right. Like our bigger concern is the market adoption, not our ability to build. I mean, this is a kind of enterprise-y type buyer where they're just only going to adopt things so quickly. So even like on the AI front, we have a lot of ideas. We've built a lot of interesting products. They're really nervous to adopt too quickly. And I think the example I always give is maybe you're trying to book a hotel and you call the hotel and you realize you're talking to an AI agent, but you're kind of like, I don't know, this is better than the alternative because I'm just trying to book a hotel. I don't know, man. I think when you like call 911 and you're in the middle of a violent situation, I think there's something warming about knowing there's another human on the other side trying to help you.
Yeah.
Not to say they can't be augmented with AI, but I think that's like a much more challenging societal question of what do we want humans to do and what do we want AI to do?
Yeah.
And we are being conscious to not make that decision for the hundreds of millions of Americans we help keep safe.
Yeah, just as a taxpayer, I would imagine that I would want the person to pick up, but I'd love for the calls to be transcribed and then AI to find patterns between what's happening and insights and analytics and all of that.
Yeah, there's also something strange. Like if somebody's calling 911 to report like somebody that's obviously drunk driving, it's like you're taking up bandwidth from somebody that is a human that could be going elsewhere. It's like maybe it's like there should be no dial times. A clanker immediately picks up and says, "What's the problem?" and then routes it either to a human, or if it's less like, if it's not like immediate, some violent act is taking place, it can actually be solved by a voice model. And
I think that's the right approach. But yeah, I think to answer your question, like we're pretty focused on doing 3 things for our customers: solving more crime. Whereas right now, it's about a 40% clearance rate for killing someone. So like you got almost 50 chance of getting away with homicide. Wow. That should be 0. Every single person that kills someone should go to jail. Nonviolent crime is even worse. We want to solve cases faster. It takes way too long to solve crime. And then we want to do more with less. Like most people, I don't know if y'all remember, our grandparents, our parents, it was an admirable job to go into policing, to fire. Yeah. This generation doesn't view it that way, which means 80+% of police departments are understaffed against their budget, and it's not getting better. And technology is going to fill the gap.
Yeah. People have compared you to like the Anduril or Palantir, kind of like, I don't know, American dynamism companies or whatever.
People have compared you to good businesses.
But I'm interested about, we talked to Shyam Sankar, CTO of Palantir, about some of the difficulties of deploying software into governments. And he gave the example that one time they built a beautiful piece of software, exquisite system, and they went to deploy it, and the team on the other side of the government that was firing it up was trying to run it on a computer that had 128 megs of RAM instead of like a gig. And so that was kind of the dawn of the forward deployed engineer. And I'm wondering if you have any unique solves on how to deploy systems, how to deploy software, if you like the forward deployed model or something else, like what's working for you at actually getting your solutions into the field.
So really similar example. I remember distinctly, we were like launching this product and the designer has a beautiful, MacBook and this HD Retina display. It's beautiful, right? It's super expensive setup. And she's designed this like super slick thing. And I was like, great, Mariana, like you should go like field test this stuff. I was like, this looks dope. Like, let's launch it.
Yeah.
And she gets into a patrol car, and it's a Panasonic Toughbook.
Yep.
It's a 13-inch screen. It's 1280 by 1024 resolution. And he's using it while he's driving 40 miles an hour. And I'm like, the product's not going to work. like we got to go back. But that is literally we've got, I don't know, hundreds of thousands of DAUs using this product now, and they're very happy. Yeah. But that's their normal use case. They're driving.
Yep.
They're on a Toughbook. Like it's a tiny screen.
Res. Yep.
It's low res. It's old. And so like you're pretty much treating it almost more like a mobile app, but like with a distracted teenager as your customer. And that's been pretty difficult because we want to build these like super high fidelity. You're just sitting at a desk all day doing your job, and like our customers are in the field all day. So that one's been pretty tough. And then I also think the other burden we've done a good job of going around is just IT in general. Yeah. Like city IT is really tough to work with. They're really tough to kind of just like get going. So we tend to build everything we can to avoid IT. Mm-hmm. There's some pros and cons to that, but so far I think it's been mostly pros.
How does that actually work? I imagine is that just like you're only looking for like user licensing or like OAuth or something? Like how do you, at some point you have to plug into the IT systems a little bit, I imagine.
Well, as a good example, historically, everything in our world is on-prem. Mm-hmm. Like we're one of the first cloud-only solutions in this market. Yeah. And early on, that was painful because people are used to buying a piece of software, they install a desktop application. That installation requires IT support. Mm-hmm. And so building everything in the cloud, which for this, for y'all, it's like, well, obviously, I'd say it was a very contrarian take 7 years ago. Mm-hmm. And now it's moving. But I mean, we have a customer that just a few years ago moved off of paper records. And they had filing cabinets. Like imagine if you report a crime, like, hold on, we got to go find that file. Wow. And this is a big city. This is a city with millions of people in it. Yeah. Just got off of paper. And I think in Maryland in 2023, the cloud became legal. Mm-hmm. It was
legalized
illegal
cloud.
To use the cloud.
This is
there people marching.
We're going to protest for legalizing the cloud.
Yes,
we love the cloud.
If there's any cities that have still banned cloud, we will.
And we hate paper. The show is presented by Ramp, of course, and we are strong in favor of ending paper and going to the cloud.
Agree. But literally, we didn't do business in Maryland until 2023 because it was illegal to be in the cloud.
Yeah. Did you ever get a test environment with a Toughbook and a car that a designer could actually go and drive around the parking lot of your office or anything like that?
No, we make all of our employees go do ride-alongs.
Okay. Yeah.
It's so much fun.
Yeah.
Because you get to see the whole product in action. You get to meet the customer. You get to go catch some bad guys. Like, it's a pretty fun way to spend 8 hours.
Yeah. How are you thinking about data privacy, where data lives? There's obviously so many advantages to being cloud-based, but then you have some citizens who might say, wait, well, like, why is my image with this private company? I'm a taxpayer. I don't have a vote at your board meeting. I have a vote at my city council. How do you grapple with all that? What's the mood on the ground in various cities? What are the dividing lines?
Yeah. I'm glad you mentioned cities. So our general stance is we don't write the rules. We create the levers for local politics to dictate. Mm-hmm. And so data retention is the easiest one. Mm-hmm. In some cities we work with, data retention is 7 days. Mm-hmm. And every single data we capture is purged after in 7 days. Mm-hmm. But then in some cities, like Dallas, it's a year. In New Jersey, it's 5 years. A state legislation for 5 years.
Wow.
I don't care. I live in Atlanta.
Yeah.
I think we're like at 30 or 60 days here in Atlanta. Yeah. And that's up to the local politicians to decide like what makes sense for them. The other thing that we do that's pretty unique is every single action in our system is audited in perpetuity. And so whether you're downloading, you're searching, you're doing something, that's stored.
Yep.
So the city manager, the internal affairs bureau, those groups can actually say, hey, has anything nefarious been done?
Yeah.
That's a big concern of people. So those two things tend to be a pretty good levers for letting local politics dictate versus, to your point, no one elected me the police chief of America. Yep. I just built a camera at my house.
I want to pitch you
Great line.
A startup idea that Blake Scholl, the founder of Boom Supersonic, he was thinking about doing this. Have you heard this story? He was thinking about building something before he started Boom, probably right around the time you were starting Flock. Yeah. He wanted to make a smart stoplight that would have a camera on it, and it would see, hey, there's no cars here. Why do I have a red light? Switch them. Feels like it would improve traffic flow. It's a situation we've all been in. You're sitting there at the red light. There's no one coming the other way. Flip the switch. Why is that? Is that a good idea? Is that something you could do? Is that something any company could do? Like, what's the market structure of the stoplight industry? Do you need to do some sort of private equity roll up? Walk me through your if you were putting on a VC hat, how would you interpret that pitch?
My pushback on that pitch is to show me the incentive and I'll show you the behavior. Who's getting promoted? Who's making more money if we fix traffic? I don't think anyone.
The opportunity cost of the workers, it's all diffuse in the economy.
No, but this is
don't
question
you think don't you think a mayor could run on, hey, we have a lot of congestion here, we have a technology, you'd have to do a study or something to show that you could reduce congestion if you had smarter traffic lights. Like feels like someone
mayors get elected on two things. Well paved roads and low crime. That's it. That's the only things that matter. Like, so I mean, I think the product idea makes a ton of sense. But I just go back to like one of the only reasons why, because you mentioned Andrew. When we were pivoting the business into local government, Trey Stevens was like, "Do not go sell to police. It's a horrible market. We tried it at Palantir. It's not going to work. It's not going to work." I was like, "Well, I don't know. Like, I'm a little bullish." He was an investor. He's an investor in the company. I was like, "I don't know. I think this might work." And what I didn't realize is, systems like Palantir are too many steps removed away from solving crime at a local level. And like Flock had coincidentally built a product that solved crime right away. And so for a police department, crime is equivalent to revenue. So we weren't helping them save money, we were helping them generate revenue. And like that does get a sergeant, lieutenant, a police chief promoted. That gets a mayor reelected. And that would be my pitch to Blake, is like, we got to find a way to make this relevant to a mayor. And like, just a little bit less traffic isn't going to move the needle, and have them move off from having no technology and no cost structure.
Well, he's busy building supersonic jets. He's got a good thing going for now, but maybe that's the next thing he works on. I have a second startup to pitch you based on your answer to that question. Automated road paving startup. I go to the mayors and I say, road paving gets you paid and gets you in the job. Like, would that work? Is that a good idea? How would that play out if you thought that process through? What advice would you give to a road paving entrepreneur?
There was a YC company doing the little road
I remember this. I remember this. But walk me through your thought process on it.
So I actually think that's a great idea. We're working on something tangential to that. So one of the biggest issues is that to do what you're describing, you have to know where the potholes are. And cities have no idea where potholes are. And they rely on you calling 311, which I'm sure you both have done many times, and said, "Hey, I'm just calling in to report a pothole." No, you don't. And that also costs the city on average like $8 per call on the 311.
Whoa.
So it's a really inefficient system.
Okay.
And so what we've been able to do is train our cameras to look for potholes. And so now we can actually report back general road conditions.
Cool.
And that is the beginning of them being able to say, "Hey, now we can actually be intelligent about where we should send people to go repave." And I think an automated robot that does the paving would be even better. But I love that idea. I think that I'm in.
That's amazing.
$25,000 check.
Fantastic. Well, you know where to reach him. He is, of course.
Oh, last did you wanted your reactions? We had a guy named Riley on yesterday who made a Find My Parking Cops. Did you see that?
Oh, that park was awesome.
Yeah. He's
did it get shut down or did it back up?
It got shut down very quickly. I was
rascal.
impressed with San Francisco's reaction time on that. They shut it down very quickly, but it's good fun.
I'm a fan of it. I think most people don't pay for parking because most of the time you don't get a ticket. So,
well, thank you so much for hopping on the show.
This is really fun.
Great to get the update.
Congratulations on the progress, and thank you for everything that you do.
Come back on anytime.
We'd love to talk to you soon. Have a great rest of your day. Let me tell you
with 10 9-figure businesses.
If you want to reach people in cities, you got to go to adquick.com. Out-of-home advertising made easy and measurable. Say goodbye to the headaches of out-of-home advertising. Only AdQuick combines technology, out-of-home expertise, and data to enable efficient, seamless ad buying across the globe.
Before our next guest joins, we did need to acknowledge that Mark Leonard has stepped down from Constellation Software.
Very sad news for health reasons.
We hope he's okay. Interesting timing, basically called the top on
Yeah, it was. We talked to Carrie No Interest on the show. You can go pull that up if you want to hear our conversation with him about these private equity software, enterprise software roll-ups. Mark Leonard was mixed on AI, sort of unclear on how it would affect the business long term, but the market did not like it, and the stock fell off, and the stock has fallen again on this very sad news. So we are, of course, sending him our best. The health reasons that he is stepping down for are unspecified at this time. So, but please send your thoughts and prayers to
Thoughts and prayers.
Mark Leonard. And we have our next guest in the restaurant waiting room, the TBPN Ultra Dome.
There he is, suited up.
Matan, how are you doing?
Hello. I'm
What's
doing
going
well.
on?
How are you guys doing?
It's been too long. Yeah, we've seen you before in the TBPN
He's
Ultra
back.
Dome. Welcome back.
It's a pleasure.
Give
Thank
us
you.
the news. Give us the 140 characters in the company to refresh everyone, and then give us the news.
Absolutely. So I'm Matan, CEO at Factory. At Factory, our mission is to bring autonomy to software engineering. What that means more concretely, we have built droids, which are autonomous software development agents. And more importantly, I'm here to tell you that they are the #1 agent in the world. As we just released today in the Terminal Bench benchmark, which evaluates tools like Claude Code, OpenAI's Codex CLI, Factory is #1. And also #3 and also #5. Pick any model you want. Factory's still #1. No matter how you slice it, our droids are simply the best agents in the world. So excited to share that.
What's the secret? What got you there? Is it pre-training, post-training, a bunch of RL stuff? Is it a data flywheel? Like what's driving the growth?
Yeah, great question. So I think one of the biggest things is that most, if not all of the agents out there are built for one model in particular. So, Claude Code is built to work with the Claude models. OpenAI's Codex is built for the GPT models. There are some other tools out there that aren't from the research labs that are focused on really like fine-tuning their agent harness for one given model for any given step. But what we've done with our droids is make them fully model agnostic, which actually makes them more performant in the long run. It's kind of similar to if you were a human engineer and you only, let's say, studied one coding language, you would actually be a weaker engineer than if you studied all of them. It's somewhat analogous there in terms of how we've built these droids that now allows them to be the most performant with any model that you put in under the hood.
How are you viewing the market and the customer landscape? Automated software engineering, that feels niched down from years ago, which was just the transformer-based LLMs can write code. But as we actually dig in, we see that the needs of a Fortune 100 customer are maybe different than a mid-market company, which is different than a startup, which is different than an SMB, which is different than a solo vibe coder, solopreneur. Where are you seeing opportunity in the market? How bifurcated is the market? It seems like you've wanted to be very general on the model side. Are you also trying to be general on the customer size side?
Yeah, great question. I mean, I think the thing that a lot of the other tools have missed is the fact that the further you go into the large enterprise, the less overlap there is between software development and coding. So for example, if you're a solo developer, your software development is basically just coding. You're not really doing code review. You're not doing that much in the way of documentation or testing or design docs. And so where we focus and why we call droids software development agents as opposed to coding agents is that we focus on that whole end-to-end software development lifecycle, which is really where a lot of enterprises are missing. Like there's the famous study that came out from MIT that said something along the lines of 95% of AI adoption efforts are failing in the enterprise.
I remember.
Yeah, exactly. And so, I mean, it kind of makes sense. Like if you think about software development as a pipeline.
Sorry, I love hitting you with the surprise sound effect.
So good.
We'll get some more positive.
We're not bearish on you. It's just a funny study.
I know. That was good. It was perfect. It was just too good. But software development is a pipeline, right?
Yeah.
And if you focus on only one part of that pipeline, namely code generation, and you expand that. I used to be a physicist. I don't know if you guys are big on fluid mechanics, but opening one part of a pipe and doing nothing to the others, you don't actually increase the throughput.
Sure.
You just create new bottlenecks. And so the reason why a lot of these efforts are failing for software development is they're focusing on just coding, but then that just punts the problem down to testing or code review or documentation. And that's why a lot of the other tools out there aren't seeing kind of the adoption and the real business outcomes that we are with the droids.
How do you see coding agents fitting into the consumer world, this might not be your business at all, but I noticed that I've seen incredible results just from asking a question that you could hit deep research with. But if I ask it to Claude Code or Codex, it can build an entire HTML web page with JavaScript widgets and bar charts, and it just it instantiates the information in a much cooler, it's just interesting way. And I'm wondering how you're seeing crossover from advances in automated AI coding into a consumer world where they might not even know that they asked for code, but they got code. It's already happening a little bit when you hit O3 Pro. It'll write some code to give you the answer. You don't even see it unless you unfurl the reasoning tokens. But how do you see that playing out in like kind of the mid to long term?
Great question. I think this is something that people aren't yet fully aware of, but this was actually the very first statement of our announcement, which is the best agents for software development are becoming the best agents for everything. And the reality is because basically every problem can be broken down into some sort of software development problem. And you can actually take it from Anthropic themselves. Literally yesterday, Alex Albert, the guy who runs DevRel at Anthropic, tweets out, the best coding model will be the best model for many types of knowledge work. Code is how computers operate. Anything you do on a computer can be done through code. And this is really why Factory, being the #1 software development agent, is really going to then lead to a lot of other tasks. And we're already seeing this in the enterprise. So we sell explicitly to developers, but already PMs, designers, even people on the operations side, so like finance, biz ops, that sort of thing. Yeah. We find that they're like sneaking their way in, even though they didn't actually, put any budget towards it, and they're starting to use droids kind of behind the back of some of the VPs of engineering. And this is really something that we've expected because of this fact that code is really the language that computers speak. And if you want a computer to do something for you, you will eventually, through some means, need code.
Couple questions. What models are you guys getting the most leverage out of today? Is it a mix? Are you focused on? You said earlier, I think you're focused on a variety, trying to be model agnostic, but be curious who you're paying out on the back end.
Yeah, so right now we achieved the #1 score across the board on Terminal Bench with Claude Opus. But again, we are really focused on having the model agnostic stance because org by org they might have different preferences. Also, what the best model is depends what day it is. Tomorrow there could be another new best, and it's important that we have that ability to quickly swap them in. So that's one thing that I think is important. It's also even task by task. There are certain models that are better, and we want to make sure that the user has that familiarity with the model so that they can go in and swap it out if there's a task that they're doing that GPT-5 might be better for or Grok might be better for.
You forgot to mention you raised some new money today.
Give us the news.
That's right.
We got a gong here.
That is right. We have raised $50 million from Sequoia, NEA, JP Morgan, and NVIDIA.
JP Morgan.
Jamie Dimon's getting in.
He couldn't
Indeed.
help himself.
He couldn't help himself.
He couldn't help himself.
I love
That's
it. Congratulations.
That's
Thank you,
our
guys.
deposits.
Thank you.
Everybody, the world's deposits at work.
Talk to me about last question. We'll let you get back to your busy day. Talk to me about the branding. It feels like we just got the idea of an agent recently. Now you're kind of pitching droids. It's clearly your term for
droids you're looking for.
Yeah.
People always talk about we're not the droids.
How much of that is like a differentiated brand that you want to be specific to your company versus like a new coinage that you want to describe a different way of working that you'd actually like to see other companies adopt? And if you were seeing the entire industry standardized around that particular piece of language, you would be happy? Or would you be like, hey, they stole our brand?
Yeah, I mean, I think generally like agent as a term is here to stay.
Yep.
But the point is, as a kind of general purpose term, it's often synonymous with like poor quality or like a while loop wrapped around LLM calls.
Yeah.
And I think what we want to do is to make good on our promise to customers, which is giving them that best agentic experience. And we do that through droids. At the end of the day, when you have a cold and your nose is running, you don't want a tissue, you want a Kleenex. Similarly with software development, you want the droids to come in there, right?
Okay, I love it. I love it. Well, congratulations on the round. Thank you so much for hopping by. We'll talk
Awesome
to you
progress.
soon.
Thank you guys for
Great to
having
see
me.
you.
Thanks.
We'll talk
Cheers.
to you soon. Let me tell you about Bezel. GetBezel.com. Your Bezel concierge is available now to source you any watch on the planet. Seriously. Any watch. And we have our next guest in the
Also,
Restream
I
waiting
guess
room.
we got to wait to talk about this. 2 new launches. One from Meta.
Yes.
Alexander announced Vibes, which is a Meta AI app for short-form AI-generated videos.
Okay, yeah. YouTube
Midjourney.
launched something with AI-generated shorts leveraging VO3 recently. What else?
And then there's a new ChatGPT product called Pulse. But
Pulse. We will
let's
dig into that.
get into it with
our next
Francis
guest.
over at Invisible.
Welcome to the TBPN Showdown, Francis. How are you doing?
What's happening? Welcome to the show.
Doing great. Excited to be here.
Thanks so much for
having me.
hopping on the show. Kick us off with an introduction on you, the company. Any news you got to share? What's new in your world?
Yeah. Well, as you saw on Bloomberg, we've raised $100 million this year, which is a big turn of events.
Go.
Woo!
At $2 billion.
Valuation.
Yeah, crazy thing that, when you saw Meta acquiring Scale, they had raised $1.8 billion and we had only deployed $6 million. We scaled profitably to $134 million of revenue last year.
That is wild. I remember I heard about you guys. I forget what context I heard about you guys for the first time, but even this was probably 2 years ago. Even back then, I was like, you guys were somewhat under the radar, I felt like, but I heard some of your revenue numbers back then. I was like, what? How have I not heard about this company? But yeah, we wanted to.
Invisible for not much longer.
Yeah, no longer.
Now very
no
visible.
longer
And now we're visible.
By the
That's
new
right.
domain, you're visible.
Visible technologies.
Yes.
Give us I mean, it'd be helpful to hear like where you guys have an edge in the market broadly, and then I want to kind of understand.
Problem set, core, like what you're actually replacing, where customers are getting the most value, anything like that would be super helpful.
So 10 years ago, when we founded the company, there was a question, which is if there's an app for everything, why isn't everything perfect yet? And Salesforce was the first SaaS company in 1999. For the last 25 years, every enterprise software company has been a SaaS company. Mm-hmm. And this has actually put customers in a pretty absurd situation where if the customer wants a cake, Silicon Valley will not sell them a cake. They will sell them tools to make a cake. And the customer then has to hire a systems integrator like Accenture to stitch together all these SaaS applications into an end-to-end solution that actually works for the business. And so that is what we were disrupting. And Palantir was not public yet, so they weren't a well-understood comp. We were kind of like an ugly duckling because we were talking about AI services, and so it's just a fundamentally disruptive business model.
So you were competing initially with someone like an Accenture to integrate existing software systems. Is that right?
Yeah, we build custom AI applications for enterprises and governments. And so you can think of this very different than SaaS, like a triangle. We have the horizontal platform, which is very powerful, but you have field engineers and field CTOs in a forward deployed motion that builds custom AI applications that actually solve the problem for the enterprise, the government. And our insight was that even though every solution would be custom, the horizontal platform would allow you to sort of build infinitely customizable software over time.
That makes sense. We've been seeing Mark Benioff and Dr. Karp going at it over various contracts, Salesforce, which you already mentioned, Palantir, which you also mentioned. Are you in that knockout, drag out fight? Have you found a differentiator around industry or size of problem, or are you just going in the arena?
So Salesforce was founded in 1999. Palantir was founded in 2003, so way before the Gen AI era. So we're in a sense like the Gen AI native way of doing this. We hired Matt Fitzpatrick, who previously ran McKinsey's Quantum Black Labs, and he's now our CEO. And after years of being capital efficient, this round sort of enables us to go into a pre-IPO motion. And if you're a public markets investor, you don't really have that many options for buying AI today. And this is generally true for the enterprises, the customers themselves. If you want to build custom AI solutions, Palantir is like a data integration and decision-making support company. So they really focus on that. But if you have a problem in anywhere else in your business, how do you build a custom solution with world-class field engineers? It's a very different type of engineer, very different type of go-to-market person, very different type of business that is familiar building custom solutions on the enterprise. Enterprises do not want their data to leave their systems, so they need all the solutions to be on-prem and containerized, and we have the ability to build in that way.
Do you think that there's a shift in the AI era to large enterprises doing more of these sort of like semi-custom solutions? That's going to be a continuing trend? Because it feels like the last era was very much like rip out the old custom on-prem solutions and go to some sort of like one-size-fits-all cloud solution.
Exactly. Yes. And this is a reversal. We're going all the way the other way. And I think that's because enterprises ultimately need proprietary and custom solutions. So in the SaaS era, like I said, they were stitching together things, and they had to do that with some combination of like their internal engineering function and systems integrators. And systems integrators are not tech companies. They're going to overcharge, underdeliver. You're going to pay them by the hour, so their incentive is to bill you as many hours as possible without getting fired. And that's not really aligned with efficiency. And so in this era, I think enterprises are realizing it's going to be very, very difficult for them to build world-class engineering teams and to build a platform like the one we have, where we can take the best models, latest models, which we train. We have an AI training business, and deploy them in the enterprise to actually solve the business use cases that they have.
Yeah. So how much should we read into you guys transitioning away from training? Is that a business that is?
We're not transitioning away. We are fully committed to training. So actually, the move of Meta acquiring Scale basically cleared the field. And so it's an inherently oligopolistic market structure where there are a few players that have invested as much as we've invested over as many years as we've invested. And so we have like 20,000 experts, and that number is scaling very quickly. We can hire like 1,000 experts a week. So when you're asking a model a question about the chemical properties of silver or the history of Sweden or whatever you're asking a model, we have PhDs, masters, experts in every subject that are training these models, and there's evals and lots of inputs into making these models great.
Got it. So leveraging the experience on the training side in order to help
deploy in the enterprise.
Got it.
Exactly.
And then what?
Yeah.
And then the business model for the deployment side is just going to repeat it back to you so I understand is there's some period that looks more like services, but it becomes a piece of durable software that they can use for a long
great model.
Just like Palantir. Exactly. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Got it. Cool.
AI services is exactly that way.
Yeah.
And that puts us in an investing mode. We literally invest in our customers. So we put, field engineers, field CTOs in with our clients, and there's an investment period to build the solution. But once the solution's in place, that is very durable revenue.
And so you're like a nightmare for someone like an Accenture, some of these big consulting companies that don't really have the true expertise around training these models, and you get to and have a lot of organizational bloat. Is that right?
Yes. So Matt, who's our new CEO, we bonded over ancient Greek and Roman history, and he calls it the Battle of Thermopylae, because even Accenture has like 1 million people worldwide and has some huge headcount. If the pass is only yay wide and there's 300 people at the pass and we're always winning at the pass, then we're going to win every battle. In other words, I believe our technology is superior, dramatically superior already to traditional systems integrators. So if you're a buyer and you're hearing Accenture's pitch and Invisible's pitch, which one are you going to pick? The Battle of Thermopylae, Spartans win.
It's fantastic.
Spartans are coming for it.
What a market. This is just a fantastic market.
Awesome.
I love it. Well, congratulations.
Congrats on all the progress.
Great to be on the show. Big fan.
Appreciate
Thanks
it.
What's
you said prepare to go public. What timeline are we thinking about? Is that multiple years out? Is it
we think in terms of how many hundreds of millions in revenue do you need to have before the story is just obvious to a public markets investor? So we really want to build a business for all markets. So the intrinsic value of the business, the ability to survive in any condition is key, and then we'll take it public.
Awesome. All right, we'll come back on anytime. This was fun.
We'd love to ring the bell with you.
Great to have you on. Thanks.
Bye. Up next, we have Jacob from our sorry, David from Juicebox coming into the studio. I believe he's in
Juicebox.
the Restream waiting room.
Bring him in.
Juicebox has some fundraising news. The gong's already warmed up. How you doing?
Welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for having me on.
David,
Big day today.
introduce yourself.
You
Tell
picked
us.
kind of a good day to drop a cinematic launch video.
This is a good day for it. But take us through it. Introduce yourself, the company, the news.
Yeah, I'm David, co-founder of Juicebox. Juicebox is an AI recruiting platform. We help our customers win the talent war, and we do that by helping them find and engage the best talent. And yeah, today we're announcing our $30 million Series A and previously unannounced $6 million seed.
Boom! Hit it a few more
Let's
times.
go.
A few more times. There we go. There we go.
Congratulations.
Big day. Okay, AI winning recruiting wars. What does that mean? And
How long until you're out of business because no one has a job anymore? I thought AI was going to get rid of all the jobs.
No silly questions. Are you working more with early stage, growth stage, public companies, all the above?
High-skilled,
Like where are you
low-skilled?
kind of focused right now? As I admit, I only saw half the launch video, so you had me up until whatever 50%.
Nice. Did you see the part with the Zuck impression?
I did see the Zuck impression. Yeah.
You made it through the important part.
Yeah.
We work with all kinds of companies, ranging from founders doing their first hire all the way to kind of growth stage companies, a few Fortune 500 customers as well. Some of those companies are Perplexity, Ramp, Quora, and a bunch more. I think the common thread for where we're able to add the most value is if the right person for the role is actually really hard to find. And that can be because they have a specific skill set, a specific set of experiences, something that makes them unique and uniquely positioned to really excel in that role.
I think of hiring as kind of like some sort of chain of events with different point solutions. There's actually finding talent job platforms, LinkedIn, Indeed. Then there's, you might want to send someone a test or have them fill out a form or process resumes. You need an applicant tracking system. I've seen other point solutions for send a video and then ask some questions and then process the video and let the user or the hiring manager kind of review videos. There's a whole bunch of different things. Do you see yourself as kind of a cross journey platform? Are you focused on a particular landing zone? Like, where's the product position today?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think of the recruiting space as really having two different ways in which you could add value. One is finding net new candidates, people that you wouldn't have discovered or wouldn't have gotten into your pipeline in the first place. And then everything that's carrying through the pipeline and optimizing that pipeline. And the latter is usually about like saving time and optimizing conversion rates. Mm-hmm. And the former is about making sure the right talent is speaking to you in the first place. We're focused on that part. And so our goal is to help companies discover talent that they wouldn't otherwise. And we do that by combining a bunch of different data sources and then using large language models to run the search and surface those profiles for you. And so if you think about what a recruiter does today on, say, LinkedIn Recruiter or like a typical search solution, they set a bunch of filters and then start reviewing profiles one by one. It's super manual, requires a lot of thought still to think of what could make that profile a fit. And that's exactly the process that we're able to do with LLMs.
So is this a direct replacement for LinkedIn Recruiter, or are you trying to get people to just be able to
or do you want to puppeteer LinkedIn with a screen recorder or API or something like widget?
I don't know if they'd like that.
Something like that. I don't know. It depends. I mean, there's been some companies that have done it successfully. Some of them got acquired by LinkedIn, but I don't know.
Yeah, no puppeteering of LinkedIn. Most of our customers are existing LinkedIn customers.
Sure.
Our goal is to help you find net new talent and do so in a more efficient way. So it's really about kind of enhancing the workflow of the recruiter and enabling them to do that search that would just be too manual or too time consuming to do otherwise. Like looking through 50,000 software engineering profiles is just not something that's feasible. But for an LLM, it's very feasible and can do it in a couple minutes.
So there are different pools of talent for, we do media, video production here. We might want to hire somebody who doesn't really have a LinkedIn presence, but they might have an Instagram account, or they might have a personal website where they've done they put up their show reels or what they've worked on. Do you have crawlers that could go out and find those profiles on the internet? Like how could I think about the surface area of you going out and finding me candidates and sourcing?
That's right. So we look at a bunch of different data sources for different types of roles. So I'll give 2 examples. One on the engineering side, GitHub profiles, a ton of value on those, especially where traditional LinkedIn profiles or resumes might be a bit more sparse, especially for engineers who don't put a ton of info on there. GitHubs can be really rich and a really interesting data source. Meanwhile, on the sales side, often what we see is customers want to find sellers who have experience selling into specific type of buyer persona. And so there it's actually a bit more about the company data. What type of companies does their current company sell into? What type of a platform are they selling? Is it a SaaS product? Is it a usage-based product, and more? And so all of that information we enrich and we try to aggregate up front so we can make those decisions for you and help surface the right profiles there.
There's they put an example, they have a tag on their site called likely to switch, which would be like you have a round of layoffs, funding or vesting timelines. People don't really think about that. You can see like, okay, this person's been here for 4 years. They're probably getting a refresher, but they're vested out. That's pretty cool. What do you think? Do you have a strong thesis yourself around employment over the next 10 years? I'm assuming Sequoia leading this round. I think that says
Sequoia confirmed, not AGI pilled. Confirmed.
No, but it says
that
we're still going to have talent wars in a decade, right? That's what that tells me. But how do you think about it?
Yeah, I think if you're AGI pilled, it actually means hiring the right talent is even more important. And the reason for that is that if you think of like the output of a given person is usually constrained by like their time, their previous knowledge and context, and then whatever tooling they're using. And so if the tooling that they're using is getting like exponentially better, they use LLMs to automate a bunch of the things they'd otherwise do. They're much more productive than they would usually do. And that's all a multiple of the person, or like the initial person and their kind of raw capacity. Having the right person in that role becomes even more important, because if AI basically 10x is whatever you do, you want to have the highest baseline that you can add that 10x to. And so it gets even more important to have the right talent on your team. And if you think of that in like the context of a software engineer, if a 10x software engineer becomes 100x, you want to have as many 10x software engineers as you can. And so my view is that the race for talent will become more and more competitive as AI gets better and better, because having the right people on your team has that outsized impact. And I think we're already seeing some of that in like, the war for talent in the AI labs. But I think more and more of that will trickle down into the rest of the economy as well.
Sure.
What do you think about outcome-based pricing, famously used in the recruiting industry? Most human recruiters, even if they work for a firm, they might get 1 month salary as a bonus if they place someone successfully, versus LinkedIn, which is a subscription software, completely not outcome-based. What model do you think will dominate in the future, and what are you doing?
Yeah, it's a really good question. We have like a per seat pricing, normal SaaS model, but then we also have an agent product, which is priced per role that the agent works on. And so it's not quite outcome-based, but it's more like usage-based. How many roles are you deploying the agent for? Over time, we want to get closer and closer to the outcome-based pricing as is possible. If you think of recruiting agencies, it's pretty common to do like 20 to 25% fee of first-year salary, which on like a dollar value is much, much more than one could probably charge for a SaaS subscription. And so there's definitely a lot of things that are attractive there. At the same time, I think the market's maybe not quite there yet, or not quite ready to pay for software on like a, say, percentage of hire model. Though, I hope we'll be able to push in that direction over time as well.
Fantastic. Well, congratulations.
Super cool. Really insane progress.
Yeah. Insane.
And congrats on the new round.
We will talk
Thanks
to you
for having me on.
Have
Cheers,
a great
David.
rest of your day. We'll talk
Thanks for coming on.
Sam Altman, launched a new feature today called Pulse. It's in ChatGPT, initially available to Pro subscribers. That's the $200 a month tier, right?
Yep.
Pulse works for you overnight and keeps thinking about your interests, your connected data, your recent chats, and more. Every morning, you get a custom generated set of stuff you might be interested in. It performs super well if you tell ChatGPT more about what's important to you. In regular chat, you could mention, I like to go visit Bora Bora someday, or my kid is 6 months old and I'm interested in developmental milestones. And in the future, you might get useful updates. Think of treating ChatGPT like a super competent personal assistant. Sometimes you ask for things you need in the moment, but if you share general preferences, it will do a good job for you proactively. This also points to what I believe is the future of ChatGPT, a shift from being all reactive to being significantly proactive. I completely agree with this concept, and extremely personalized. This is an early look, and right now only available to Pro subscribers. We will work hard to improve the quality over time and find a way to bring it to Plus subscribers too. That sounds compute intensive. That sounds like they're going to be running essentially an O3 Pro level query, a ChatGPT 5 Pro level query every night, asking based on what's going on in the news, based on what this person searched for, based on all the chats recently. Let's summarize and put together some sort of dossier for them and surface that. So that's basically one big, fire up the GPUs every single night. You gotta get the customers to pay for it, at least in the short term. But what do you think, Tyler? You think you'll use this?
It's pretty interesting. I'm wondering, is this the thing that Sam Altman was talking about of the compute-intensive thing they're rolling out?
He said this week we will be launching a couple compute-intensive things. Some of those will probably be announced at Dev Day. This is one that he's just announcing this week.
I mean, this feels like it's effectively doing something like just kind of
hanging out in the background,
somewhat actively, somewhat passively, just gauging, what your interests are. I can see this as almost like having a Google alert set up.
Amjad from Replit says, reminds me of Google Now, but how do I get started? I don't see it in the app. So it's obviously rolling out slowly.
Yeah, you can definitely see an agent being built into this. That seems very natural.
Totally. And I feel like ChatGPT was already starting to sort of surface this concept of hey, do you want me to do this every week for you? Do you want me to do this every month for you? But I haven't actually set up any of those cron jobs and had it stick around and become part of my workflow. But I like the idea of it, and I think that the big thing is just for retention. If every time you open the ChatGPT app in the morning, instead of just an empty box, you're greeted with here's some interesting stuff.
Or you're getting a push notification.
Or a push notification. That's going to be huge for retention.
Or it's hey, this product launch. Do you want to buy this?
Yeah.
You want to buy this?
It's just going to be
let's pull up this video from Alexander Wang.
Just
share Vibes, a new feed in the Meta AI app.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see if they beat the slop allegations. I think it's powered by Midjourney, so it looks pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean, Midjourney, fantastic model. Looks pretty good. Yeah, I wonder how this is actually going to... So separate app is what he's saying?
It's a new feed in the Meta AI app.
Okay, in the Meta AI app. So not you would expect this to be baked directly into Instagram. That's probably too much compute out of the gate to just drop it in as a filter or something, or button in Instagram. Because if you have 1 billion people pushing that button, you're just gonna get swamped. I think this beats the slop allegations. There's some cool stuff you could do with this. I mean, video generation looks good. Looks VO3 level to me. I don't know. Obviously, these were curated and selected, but
we'll have to get in the app. Tyler, before we do the show tomorrow, please use the app for 12 or 14 hours, something like that. Just straight, no break.
Wire-headed.
Just lock in.
Just lock in.
Max Conrad in the chat says, I'm tired of hearing about fundraisers without business metrics, top line, bottom line value created for customers.
Okay, Max.
Good point. We want to push people harder to say, if you want to come on, you got to give us some numbers.
Some juice.
And if you don't got numbers to share other than the headline,
we should have a very small
credit
gong
to Juice.
I
think they've been actually crushing it.
raising money. Yeah, that is a market where money flows very freely because you're, as a business, you're ready to sign a check for $200,000 to hire someone as a software engineer.
150.
You're like, yeah, I'll pay $10,000 to get the job done, $20,000. So the money flows quite freely, and that's why there's so many executive recruiters, software engineering recruiters that make a ton of money just working basically for themselves, just as talent agents, moving things around.
Yeah.
Well, Meek Mill and Elizabeth Holmes were going back and forth on X. Elizabeth says, thanks, Meek. Currently serving a 137-month sentence in federal prison. Would love to work with you on reform. Here's some legislation I have drafted. Your story inspired me. And Meek Mill says, let me check your story out. And Will Brown says, Elizabeth Holmes, this year is our year. Elizabeth Holmes, we can never forget this, Tiger. Meek Mill.
I used to pray for times like this, to rhyme like this. I know. Focus on it too.
It's a great one.
Yeah, I think they're thinking about different aspects of reform.
Yeah. Well, we don't.
Maybe
rap,
Meek Mill would
but we
want
do
YC
sing.
arrest, where she has to lock in and just repeatedly build the device forever.
I like that. We don't rap, but we do sing. Find
your happy place.
Find your happy place. Tyler missed it.
All right, I
Took
got
me a second to kind of like
Okay, you wanna
hit
try
the
it
right
again?
note there.
Find your happy place.
Find your happy place.
Book a wander with inspiring views, hotel-grade amenities, dreamy beds, top-tier cleaning, and 24/7 concierge service. It's a vacation, but
we
better.
got breaking news. Trump signs order to approve the TikTok deal and avoid the U.S. ban. The chat was on it way before we were.
Yes.
Let's see. TikTok is poised to be spun off into a separate U.S. entity to comply with the 2024 law requiring the China-based parent company ByteDance to divest or face a U.S. ban. Trump said, I had a very good talk with President Xi. A lot of respect for him. Hopefully he has a lot of respect for me too. And we talked about TikTok and other things. We talked about TikTok, and he gave us the go-ahead. Under the deal, a group of U.S. investors, including Oracle and Silver Lake, are set to take a majority stake in the new TikTok entity. Let's give it up for Silver Lake. Good to see them throwing some size around, as well as Oracle. ByteDance will maintain less than 20% in equity to comply with the divest or ban law. Vice President Vance said the company will be valued around $14 billion. Feels weirdly low.
Very low. Just the U.S. business? I don't know. I felt like, we talked to Sean Frank, and it sounds like they were losing a lot of money on TikTok Shop, and some of the growth had probably plateaued with
Well, they were
Reels
just
and
losing money in
Shorts.
general.
Yeah, but you got to imagine that monetizes pretty well. It's such a big network, so much time on site. But yeah, it's trading like a Snapchat or a Pinterest, basically, like a non-Meta property, a non-Google YouTube property. Oh well.
Yeah, it's crazy.
We'll have to keep checking in on it.
So TikTok valued less than Perplexity.
Okay.
Honestly, now I can see why Arvin was trying to get a bid in. You know?
True. Yeah. Everyone was like,
I'm
"Oh,
already at
TikTok's so
around
much
20.
bigger," but yeah,
I'm
it would
already
be a
at around
merger of
20.
equals, basically.
Brett
Link and
Adcock
build.
should have taken a crack.
He
too.
could have sliced off
easily
30%
absorbed
of his market
he could
cap.
have easily
and picked up
absorbed.
TikTok.
Anduril could have.
True. There's a
A
lot,
lot of
stuff.
companies that could have absorbed.
I'd like to see Palantir pick them up. Run the data.
Yeah, 14 billion's crazy.
That is crazy low.
Crazy low.
That's I'm surprised the CCP said yes to this. That feels
Yeah,
low.
what's the catch?
I mean,
This feels like it's worth like
it feels like
140
there's
billion
other
to
chips on the
CCP.
table that are
Yeah.
being traded around, whether it's
Yeah.
like rare earths or some sort of deal on tariffs. Or this is such a multi-pronged deal between different countries and stakeholders. The UN thing just happened, and so there's a whole bunch of different pieces. And the art of the deal is not a single iterated, price a single asset in the moment type thing. Could Truth Social have picked it up? Truth Social's right around there too.
No,
They've fallen. They're in the single digits. Still a unicorn, right? Our president is still a unicorn tech founder, I believe.
4.7 billion.
There you go. He's a unicorn founder, folks.
When's earnings on November 7th? So
Tune in.
We gotta lock it.
I don't
for
think
that one.
I don't
Do they
think DJT gives a speech. He should.
That would be crazy.
What you got, Tyler?
Do we know? I think there are rumors that like the TikTok algorithm would still like be governed by the Chinese, but then it would run on like American hardware or something?
We're going to do the inference.
Yeah,
we're going to do the inference. They'll do the training. We'll do the inference.
It's like the algorithm with Chinese characteristics.
Yes, but I am somewhat bullish on the idea of like doing some post-training on top of their algorithm, or doing some secondary like post-inference. You see the ranking of the feed, you're doing analytics on that and seeing like, okay, like there's still some like propaganda stuff here.
Like,
We're
was
not
that
comfortable
confirmed
with
that is what's going to happen though?
I don't know. I don't know if that was confirmed, but there are. It's not a total black pill if the training still happens there, because you can do so much post training. I think, and monitoring, and even just having the data, you can start running analytics and understanding like what type of content is showing in what context. Like, are there actual like are certain trends or keywords, or is there certain censorship of certain ideas or promotion of certain ideas? At least if you have access to the data of what's being served, what TikTok users are watching, you can then understand, and then you can apply pressure or post-training or anything else. Anyway, in other news, the Lucy nicotine vending machine has arrived at Palantir. This was a journey. I worked with Eliano on this, and John says Palantir has a climate-controlled Lucy vending machine for their employees in their office, and you're bearish. It was a lot of fun. So we'll be sending out a few more of those, hopefully getting one in the TBPN Ultradome soon. The last thing was the Financial Times has an article about America's biggest corporations keep talking about AI but struggle to explain the upsides. We'll dig into this another day, but they analyzed hundreds of filings that suggest S&P 500 constituents are clearer about the technology's risks than its benefits. And another one of these data points of Fortune 500 companies being reticent to adopt AI. I'm not sure if it's just blanket bearish for Fortune 500 companies. If you're a big enterprise and you're not able to figure out a way to deliver, positive ROI when a magical new technology comes along, it might not be a good sign for you. Jordy, what else do you want to talk about today?
Yeah, I was just confused. I was trying to dig in and see. I didn't see A16Z in the announcement anywhere.
Oh, yeah, they were supposed to be, right? Maybe they pulled out or something. I don't know. I like the idea of the Ben and Mark show just being hard-coded into the
first post every
algorithm. They got Rick Rubin on there. Show me some Rick Rubin TikToks, some Torenberg, little Chris Dixon in there, some KB. This would be a good TikTok algorithm.
Yeah,
I'd be down.
They still could be in it, but we'll see. Well, we can ask. It's out.
I hope the thumb is on the scale, regardless of their ownership position.
Putting thumbs on scales.
A big fan of thumbs on scales.
Anyways, without further ado, we I think got to get on with Taipei.
I think we do.
So
I think we do.
We will see you folks tomorrow. Thank you for tuning in.
Thank you for tuning in.
Leave us a review on your favorite podcast
Please
app
do.
if you're listening.